the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 376, Supernatural Power Breakthrough Quasi-Heavenly King. On the second day, Zhang Xingyun got up early, and after breakfast, he came to the Pokémon Center and started a day's work. Seeing that most people had arrived, he called everyone to the conference room and held a brief meeting. At the meeting, a recent work summary was made, and the documents issued by the superiors were to be taken out for everyone to review. After encouraging everyone, the meeting was over. Back in the office, Fu Yiking had already placed the work documents on the desk, a large table full of documents. After sitting down, he picked up the documents and began to process the documents of the past 2 days. After an hour, all the documents were processed and put aside. Sitting on the guest sofa, he picked up a glass of warm water and drank it. Now that his affairs are handled, if there is no emergency or he goes to perform a mission by himself, then today's affairs are over, and the rest of the time, he can go to the training ground to train Pokémon. The energy in his body was a little agitated, and this feeling existed after Charizard advanced. Zhang Xingyun also realized that he seemed to be about to break through, and now this feeling is. Then he walked to an office outside, found Fu Yiking, explained to her, and then came to the training ground, took all the elves with him, came to the wild, found a suitable place, and began his breakthrough journey. He didn't break through in the office, because he was afraid that there would be some noise when he broke through, which would have a bad impact. Huayang County didn't have a club like Changning City, so breaking through in the wild was the best choice. Nido Wua Nido King and the others were also patrolling around to prevent accidents. Sitting cross-legged on a big rock, he slowly relaxed and began to practice according to the methods in the secret book of supernatural power cultivation. Slowly, the energy in Zhang Xingyun's body became intense, then calmed down, and then increased again. This state lasted for a long time. It's always a little short. It seems that I have to rely on some external objects. Zhang Xingyun opened his eyes and took a deep breath. He originally planned to watch the breakthrough, but after so much trouble, he still couldn't break through. Then he took out a brown pill from the space and swallowed it into his stomach. This is the concentration pill exchanged from the system, which is very beneficial for the cultivation and breakthrough of superpowers. After swallowing it, Zhang Xingyun's aura gradually rose, and the energy fluctuations exceeded the previous level, reaching a critical point. Break it for me. Pop like the sound of a bottle cap opening, an inexplicable wave of air spread out in all directions. The leaves of several trees around fell down, and Nidoking and the others also stepped back a few steps, looking at Zhang Xingyun, who was sitting cross-legged with concern in their eyes. It's done. Feeling the energy flowing through his body and the mental power filling his mind, Zhang Xingyun can be sure that he has broken through. The superpowers on his body have broken through to the first level of Quasi-Heavenly King. Well, in this case, I can learn some new spells. Feeling the condition of his body at this time, Zhang Xingyun murmured, hey boo, come over if you're okay, I've successfully broken through. Hey boo. After learning that Zhang Xingyun had successfully broken through, the elves all gathered around to see if he had any changes. Hey boo. The electric shock monster said, Zhang Xingyun has broken through so many times, why hasn't he evolved yet? My breakthrough won't change my appearance like yours, that is, my strength will break through, but I won't evolve. I've always been like this. Zhang Xingyun explained. Hey boo. The electric shock monster scratched his head. He thought he had failed because his appearance hadn't changed. Then it's you, electric shock monster. Fight with me and see how strong I'm after the breakthrough. Hey boo. The electric shock monster agreed, and then the two of them started to spar here. Hey boo. As soon as the electric shock monster came on the field, it used its electromagnetic energy. After laying it out, it started to run. Under the traction of the electric shock monster, strands of lightning penetrated the soil and turned into an electric net, rushing towards him. Zhang Xingyun moved instantly to avoid the electric net condensed by the electric shock monster. After Zhang Xingyun dodged it, the electric net collapsed, and turned into multiple whips, which were controlled by the electric shock monster, and entangled with him. Zhang Xingyun held up a shield, and the lightning whip with arcs fell on the shield. Bang, bang, bang. After the attack, the lightning whip did not break the shield until the energy dissipated. Hey boo, the electric shock monster clawed with both hands, wrapped in lightning, and kicked. Bang, it was still blocked by the shield. Use your greatest strength, don't worry. Hey boo, the electric shock monster then kicked several times, but failed to break through the shield, which several huge electric balls hit over, and after a few noises, the color of the shield dimmed, but it still existed. Zhang Xingyun made a gesture, and the shield returned to its original appearance. After this test, Zhang Xingyun also knew the approximate defense level of this shield. After that, after reminding the electric shock monster, he began to try his attacking ability. More than a dozen energy bodies the size of watermelons, and shaped like fists emerged behind him, and with a whoosh, they punched over. Dong dong. After 2 or 3 blows, the electric shock monster was also pushed back a few steps. The remaining fists merged into one, turning into a huge fist, smashing down at the electric shock monster. Hey boo, the electric shock monster used the guard to resist the punch. Bang, the huge fist hit the guard's protective shield, making a muffled sound. Crack. After that, the guard of the electric shock monster gradually cracked, and Zhang Xingyun also stopped attacking. The extent of this attack can also be roughly known. Later, other methods were tried, and the experimental results were in line with his expectations. I want to be a qua-seeking elf like this, right? A humanoid elf? Zhang Xingyun murmured, feeling the energy on his body. Of course, the physique is naturally not comparable to the elves who are also qua-seekings, but the other things are not much different. I wonder what level of strength it is to be able to turn people into dolls. A supernatural being? Zhang Xingyun pondered, and thought of a superpower in the anime of his previous life, Nancy, who was able to turn people into dolls. Let's go. There's nothing to do today, so let's not go back. Let's go to the inner circle to have a look. Zhang Xingyun was in a good mood after the breakthrough, so he led the elves deep into the forest to look for experienced elves. In the evening, Zhang Xingyun returned to Huang. Today was another fruitful day. The elves got actual combat, and he also got actual combat. In the actual combat, he also adapted to his newly broken strength. After dealing with today's harvest, he bought a bunch of ingredients, and returned home to enjoy a sumptuous dinner. Chapter 377 Thunder Energy Cube. Soon another week passed. On this day, Zhang Xingyun came to the elf center to work as usual. Just after he finished his work, he heard Fu Yiking say that 2 young men were looking for him. Their names were Chengzu and Linji. Zhang Xingyun went downstairs and brought Chengzu to the office to entertain them. Why do you have time to come to my place today? Zhang Xingyun asked after sitting down. There is nothing to do recently, and there are no classes in school, so Chengzu and I came to Huang to take a walk and see how the great investigator Zhang is doing recently. Linji replied with a smile. Then Fu Yiking came in with 3 cups of fragrant tea, put them down, and walked out. Since you are here, stay a few more days. Let's go for a meal. After get off work, I'll treat you. Haha. Zhang Xingyun said happily. You look quite cool. You even have a secretary. She is pretty. After watching Fu Yiking leave, Linji joked. Not bad, not bad. After saying that, Zhang Xingyun picked up the tea in his hand and drank it, then asked Chengzu, how is the property? No one should make things difficult for you. No, that's not the case. Chengzu replied. With the help of Zhang Xingyun, he took back the property that belonged to him. Afterwards, his uncle also gradually transferred the property to him as promised, and did not make things difficult for him, and even made some concessions. Well, that's good. Zhang Xingyun nodded. It seems that his visit last time was effective, at least it helped Chengzu. Xingyun, take a look at this energy block, and see if it is useful to you. Chengzu took out a small book from the space, and there were also a few pieces of paper in the book. What is this? Zhang Xingyun asked in confusion. You will know after you take a look. Chengzu directly stuffed the small book into Zhang Xingyun's hand, keeping it a secret. Is this a high-level energy block formula? After flipping through a few pages, Zhang Xingyun was surprised. The small book in his hand recorded the formula of a high-level energy block, and there were also some production data and some experience. This is naturally for you. Don't refuse it. You know, I don't need it either. Chengzu waved his hand and said, just accept it. I got it by chance. There should be some missing data in it. You can figure it out slowly. Don't refuse it. Refusing it means you don't like my gift. Okay, I'll thank Brother Zhu here. Zhang Xingyun said no more and opened the book to read it. As Chengzu said, there were a few missing papers with data in it. They should have been lost. But with Zhang Xingyun's current ability and the calculation of the system, it won't take long to calculate the missing data. It's a pity that what I collected is still missing some, and it's not complete. Chengzu said with some regret, with a little regret on his face. No, this is already very good. I can't thank you enough. Well, as long as you like it. Zhang Xingyun also knew that Chengzu must have paid a lot for this little book. Even if the formula of this advanced energy block is missing some, it will not be cheap. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun took out a batch of energy cubes from the space and gave them to the two. This batch of energy cubes includes intermediate and advanced ones. According to the quantity, it is enough for the two elves to eat for a while. After seeing Zhang Xingyun's attitude, the two did not refuse. They thanked him a few times and put them away with a smile. The three sat on the sofa and chatted about their recent situations. One of Linji's elves broke through to the elite level, which is considered an elite level trainer. It is safer to go out hunting in the wild and get more. After getting the property, Chengzu gradually started his own business. Now that there is nothing left in college, he can start a business while attending classes. His business has improved a bit. After listening to the development of the two, Zhang Xingyun also congratulated them a few times and was happy for them. We have been talking for so long. Will it delay your work? Chengzu asked, looking at the documents on the desk. It would be bad if the work was delayed because of the visit of the two of them. It's okay. I finished my work today and those documents have been processed. That's good. It was evening, and Zhang Xingyun took the two to the largest restaurant in Huayang County and treated them to a meal. Then he accompanied the two to stroll around Huayang County. At night, Chengzu and the others stayed in Zhang Xingyun's villa. On the second day, the two said goodbye and left, declining Zhang Xingyun's request to stay, saying that they were going to Yangcheng with their mentors to deal with some things. After seeing them off, Zhang Xingyun returned to the elf center and continued to work. After processing the documents sent by Fu Yiqing, he opened the small notebook sent by Chengzu and started to read it. He also opened the system and started to calculate. Based on the existing data, after studying for a few hours, he completed the missing data and modified some of the raw material ratios to make them more reasonable. It turned out to be an electric energy block. The exclusive energy block for the electric shock monster is now available. Looking at the data on the system interface, Zhang Xingyun said happily. The data on the system interface showed that it was a high-level energy block formula suitable for electric shock monsters, and Zhang Xingyun named it Thunder. With this energy block, the strength of the electric shock monster will progress much faster, and it will enhance its own energy. Tomorrow is Sunday, and I have a day off. I can just go back to Changning to make this Thunder, and make a batch of other energy blocks for backup. Zhang Xingyun planned. There are not many energy blocks left in his space, and he has to make another batch. The equipment owned by the Cultivation Association of Huayang County is still much worse than that of Changning. The intermediate ones can be made in Huayang, but the advanced ones can't. And Changning is not far from Huayang. With the speed of Pidgeot, if there is no obstruction in the middle, it will only take a while. Even if there is an emergency, it can quickly rush to Huayang. We have to find a way to deal with the Computersaurus and others. We can't always use Yuan Ling as a substitute. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself. He was also paying attention and he could exchange it at the end of the month. He had accumulated a lot of merit points from being an investigator for a few months, including killing Team Rocket's VIP, building Huayang, resisting the arrival of the secret realm, etc. So when Chengzu gave him this energy block, he was so surprised. He didn't know how Chengzu got it. High-level items are not easy to get. In the following time, Zhang Xingyun went to the training ground to train elves. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378 Barbecue and Rescue. In the evening, when Zhang Xingyun walked out of the Pokémon Center, Yi Crossing and Fang Hongjian were waiting for him at the door. After getting in the car, Zhang Xingyun said, "Where are we going to eat tonight? Wanlong or Zinayu Hotel? How about going to the wild for barbecue?" Yi Crossing suggested, with a yearning look on his face. In summer, barbecue and iced drinks go better together. Haha, then let's go to the suburbs after shopping, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. After listening to Yi Crossing's suggestion, he also became interested and agreed. Fang Hongjian, who was sitting in the passenger seat, naturally had no objection. He drove to a large supermarket, bought a bunch of ingredients, and drove to the wild. By the evening, many trainers who went out looked tired, but with smiles on their faces. They came back from outside, and they must have had a good harvest today. There were also some trainers with bitter faces, and were in a mess. He walked through the crowd, and found a suitable place in the suburbs, stopped the car, and took out the ingredients. He took out a refrigerator from the space, put it aside, set up the grill and started grilling. The elves of the three people were also guarding around, to prevent attacks from wild elves. Sizzle the roasted meat skewers were emitting golden fat, sprinkled with chili powder and cumin, and emitted a burst of meaty aroma. After roasting, the three people took a bite and drank a sip of iced drink. Haha, refreshing. This is what we should do in the hot summer, Yi Crossing said loudly. Well, it's pretty good. Zhang Xingyun and the others also agreed that eating barbecue and beer in the summer is the best thing. The three of them ate and drank together, and Zhang Xingyun also mentioned that he would go back to Changning tomorrow. Then let's go back together tomorrow. I also want to go back to Changning and go home to see. I haven't been home for several days, Yi Crossing said. Okay, what about you, Hongjian? I'm going back too. I haven't been home for several days, just like Yi Crossing. Okay, let's go back to Changning together tomorrow. The three of them agreed to go back to Changning together tomorrow and continued to eat and drink. There were also several grills on the elf side. Madame Huaji and the others were grilling. They also prepared a portion of barbecue for the elves. It was very pleasant and enjoyable to enjoy the sunset and the beautiful scenery while eating delicious food. When the three of them were enjoying the barbecue, they heard several cries for help from afar. The three of them looked at each other and decided to go and take a look. They left a few elves to guard the place and rushed to the source of the sound. As the search officers of Huayang County, this was also the territory of Huayang. No matter what they considered, they had to take action. At the source of the sound, several large wolfhounds were chasing a girl, followed by more than a dozen coyote dogs. At this time, the sun had set, and there were no people in the forest. After the girl's cry for help was heard, no one came to save her. Instead, it caused a series of light noises in other places, attracting several peepers. The girl's combat uniform had been torn in many places, and there were claw marks all over her body. She had also been injured while running, and blood was still flowing. However, the girl was terrified, and did not dare to stop. She ran as hard as she could, while calling for help. The eyes of several large wolfhounds flashed with the cruelty of hunters, and they also lost their patience. They formed a shadow ball at their mouths, and threw it towards the girl, who was running in front. Nido Butterfree when the shadow ball attacked. Two rays of light flew out from the girl's belt, and an Adorina and a Butterfree jumped out to block the shadow ball for the girl. Boom, an explosion sounded, and Adorina and Butterfree were directly knocked away by this attack. They were wrapped in the airwave caused by it, and they crashed into a tree with the girl. Nidorina, Butterfree. Seeing the two elves like this, the girl's tears splashed out. The two elves did not respond to her, and had lost consciousness. Looking back, a wolf's mouth appeared in front of her eyes. The wolf dog covered with mucus exuded a stench, and was biting towards her. She had time to let out a howl. Nido, a purple figure, flashed and appeared on the girl's body. With a punch, he pressed the big wolf dog that rushed towards him. With a fierce force, the whole head of the big wolf dog was pressed into the mud by Nidoking. A powerful arm punch and a foot stomp. The big wolf dog lay directly on the ground, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Hearing the movement, the girl opened her eyes and found that the chasing big wolf dog had been solved by the tall and mighty Nidoking in front of her. This also meant that she was saved, and hope appeared in her eyes again. Several other big wolf dogs surrounded her, looking at the Nidoking, who suddenly appeared with a vigilant face, howling continuously. "Are you okay?" There was a ripple in the space, and Zhang Xingyun appeared next to Nidoking and said to the girl on the ground, "I'm fine." Seeing Zhang Xingyun suddenly appear, the girl paused and responded, "Don't worry, you're fine now." Zhang Xingyun stretched out his hand and pulled the girl up. Thank you," the girl said gratefully. "It's okay, Madam Huaji, come out and treat her." After Madam Huaji came out, she exuded an extremely gentle energy, lingering around the girl, recovering her injuries. Nidoking was also fighting fiercely with the big wolfhounds. After 3 or 2 attacks, 3 big wolfhounds fell down. At this time, the big wolfhounds realized that Nidoking in front of them was not easy to mess with. After a woof, the big wolfhounds ran back, even ignoring their companions lying on the ground. Yi Crossing and the others also rushed to the scene and walked to the side of the two. "Are you okay?" "It's okay," Zhang Xingyun replied. His eyes fell on the girl. "Thank you." Seeing the 3 people staring at her, the girl's pretty face was full of tension. "It's okay. Where are you from? Let's take you back." "Don't worry, we are not bad people. The 3 of us are investigators." Seeing the girl's nervous look, Zhang Xingyun explained and showed her his certificate. "I live in Huayang." "Okay, let's go." Then the 3 of them came to the barbecue place. After packing up, the 3 of them sent the girl to a city gate in Huayang. After she thanked her repeatedly, she also refused the things handed to her many times. After confirming that the girl was not in danger, the 3 of them left. On the way back, they also learned about the girl's situation. The girl's name was Fuanqi, an ordinary level trainer and a prospective college student who had just taken the college entrance examination. In order to obtain more resources, she went out to adventure in the wild to obtain resources to cultivate elves. This was also the reason why the 3 of them refused her gifts. These things might be the result of her many days in the wild. Judging from her appearance and the situation of the elves, her family background was also average, so the 3 of them naturally would not accept her things. After sending Fuanqi, the 3 of them also return home. It's not easy for everyone. Zhang Xingyun looked at the scenery outside the window and murmured. Seeing Fuanqi's appearance, he thought of himself in the past, when he was also a low-level trainer who also risked his life and adventured in the Yangtze forest just to obtain resources for breeding Pokémon. Chapter 379, Making Thunder. It was very difficult for every civilian trainer to start, and Zhang Xingyun was no exception at the beginning. Fortunately, he had the help of the system, supernatural powers, and the support of noble people. After going through the most difficult period in the early stage, he became what he is now. Thinking back to the competition, when he was just in his 3rd year of high school, he had a hard time against Yi Crossing's Ghastly, but now he has surpassed him by a lot. Nidoking and others also have the combat power of Quasi Kings, and his strength and status have changed dramatically compared to a year ago. Magic City University, it will be soon. Zhang Xingyun's eyes flashed with brilliance, and he was looking forward to the communication with various geniuses. After going to Magic City University, it must be a very interesting and challenging thing. Early the next morning, Yi Crossing came to Zhang Xingyun's villa. The 3 of them drove together to the outskirts of Huayang County, rode the Pokémon, and flew to Changning. There were no accidents on the road, and they arrived safely in the suburbs of Changling City. Then the 3 of them went their separate ways and dispersed. Zhang Xingyun came to the Cultivation Association in Changning, and was led by the staff to the machine room he had reserved. After a while, a staff member brought the raw materials he had ordered last night. Zhang Xingyun skillfully cleaned the machine, then turned on the button of the machine and started it. Buzz, the machine room was filled with the roar of the machine. Zhang Xingyun also took out a piece of raw material from the backpack space, processed it skillfully, and started to make energy blocks with the raw materials sent by the staff. Soon, a set of steaming energy blocks was successfully made. Judging from its quality, it reached the excellent quality of intermediate energy blocks. Well, not bad. It has been a while since I made it. Looking at these steaming energy blocks in front of him, Zhang Xingyun murmured. Then he did it a few more times and started to make advanced energy blocks, first making the Hanhei of the Blasto eyes. After putting in the raw materials, Zhang Xingyun became serious. Making intermediate energy blocks can be more casual. Advanced energy blocks need to be paid attention to and focused, and a single negligence will also fail. Buzz with Zhang Xingyun's careful production. This time the Hanhei was successfully produced, and the appearance was also very good. Then, he continued to make it. With Zhang Xingyun's concentration, there were no accidents, and all of them were successful. Among them, his supernatural power broke through to the qua-seeking level, and his mental power was also improved. When making energy blocks, it was as if he had divine help. The places that were a bit troublesome in the past were no different from ordinary ones now. Even the thunder that he had just come into contact with was passed in one go, and the energy blocks he made were of very good appearance. He kept making it until more than 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and Zhang Xingyun stopped when the phone rang. Hello. Are you in Changning? Yes, here at the Cultivator Association, making energy blocks. Zhang Xingyun replied. The person who called was Nangang Yeo. I just arrived in Changning. Let's meet up somewhere. I have something to talk to you about. Oh, okay. Where is it? I'll be there right away. At Xiangli Mao Cafe. Okay. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Xingyun packed up everything. Now that the production is almost done, there is not much to pack. After checking out, he returned to his home in Changning, took a shower, changed his clothes, and rushed to the Xiangli Mao Cafe. After walking to the reserved private room and opening the door, Nangang Yeo was drinking coffee. Her posture was as elegant as ever. On a chair next to her, there was a bulging backpack, and no one knew what was in it. My deskmate, I'm here. Zhang Xingyun said after entering. I'm here. How about trying this cappuccino? Okay. After finishing the coffee, Zhang Xingyun started drinking it. Although his posture was better than last time, he was not so rude and casual. Well, there is progress. It's not like last time, like a cow drinking. Looking at the way Zhang Xingyun drank in the coffee shop, Nangang Yeo said with a smile. I'm from the countryside. I don't drink as elegantly as you city people. Zhang Xingyun joked. Haha, it's so funny. What era is it now, and you still do this? Nangang Yeo laughed, and was also happy. The two of them are both capable people, and have a common language. They get along very easily and harmoniously in private. Have you broken through? Qua-seeking? Nangang Yeo asked, feeling the power of Zhang Xingyun. Well, it's just a short time since the breakthrough. How is it? Is it fast? It seems that my supernatural talent is really not as good as yours. As long as you are more diligent, work harder, have a little more opportunity, and a little bit of other things, you can also break through to my level. Zhang Xingyun pretended to be deep and said seriously. I don't believe you. Nangang Yeo rolled her eyes in return, and returned to this game for his nonsense. In the aspect of supernatural powers, sometimes hard work is really useless. The realm that a genius can reach is what an ordinary supernatural cannot reach, even if he works hard all his life. As the saying goes, if hard work is useful, what's the point of genius? It also refers to the group of psychics. You have also cultivated to the late elite stage, and you are almost there. Your talent is not bad. Feeling the breath of Nangang Yeo, Zhang Xingyun comforted her. It will probably take a long time. You are not a freak. Okay, you said on the phone that you need to find me for something. What is it? Zhang Xingyun asked. After a while of chatting, he asked about the thing she mentioned on the call. Oh, it's like this. I see that you don't have a ghost type Pokémon yet. It just so happens that I told you a while ago that I went to explore a mausoleum and got a batch of Pokémon eggs. They should all be ghost type Pokémon. Do you want to cultivate one? As she said that, Nangang Yeo picked up the school bag next to her, took out 3 Pokémon eggs from it, and placed them in front of Zhang Xingyun. These 3 Pokémon eggs have been selected, and they are good in all aspects. Do you want to choose one to cultivate? They are given to you. It's free. 3 Pokeballs full of vitality were placed in the incubator and placed in front of Zhang Xingyun, allowing him to choose. Although I'm a person with special abilities, it would be great to cultivate a ghost type elf, which can be used in many aspects. Nangang Yeo continued. My deskmate, you are thoughtful. Zhang Xingyun said solemnly as he looked at Nangang Yeo fiddling with the elf eggs. Through the system scan, he also knew the information of these 3 elf eggs. The elves inside were of the best quality in all aspects, and were very precious elves. He also intended to cultivate a ghost type elf, but he had not found a suitable one yet. Chapter 380, Shiny Gastless Pokémon Egg. The information of the 3 Pokémon eggs that Nangang Yeo took out is as follows. Name, Ghastly, male, attributes, poison, ghost characteristics, floating qualifications, dark blue, flash, skills, hypnosis, licking tongue, dream eater, thief name, dream fairy, female, attributes, ghost characteristics, floating qualifications, dark blue skills, howl, illusion wave, same fate, noise name, shadow doll, male, attributes, ghost characteristics, cursed body qualifications, light blue skills, fist drop, see-through. See-through. The 3 Pokémons in front of him are all very good, with high qualifications, and ghost type Pokémons are also very rare. You really have to give me one of these. Zhang Xingyun looked at the 3 Pokémon eggs in front of him and asked again. Well, which one do you want to choose? Ghastly, Dream Fairy, or Souleyes? If you want, 2 or 3 can be given to you. That's not necessary. I'll choose Ghastly. After Zhang Xingyun looked at the 3 Pokeballs in front of him, he chose Ghastly after comprehensive consideration. Ghastly has 2 stages of evolution and is shiny, which makes it a very good Pokémon from any angle. Okay, here's Gastless Pokémon Egg. Hearing that Zhang Xingyun chose Ghastly, Nangang Yeo pushed Gastless Pokémon Egg over. Thank you, deskmate. Haha, why are you being polite? We are so close, there's no need to say thank you. Nangang Yeo said with a smile, put the 2 Pokeballs on the table back into her backpack, sat back in her chair, and the 2 continued chatting. It's almost September, right? The Magic City University will start school on September 9th. Nangang Yeo stirred her coffee and said lightly, well, I know. I plan to resign from my current position at the end of this month and rush to the Magic City on September 1st. Zhang Xingyun replied. Speaking of this, I'm quite surprised that you can be promoted to the chief prosecutor of Huang County in such a short time. Nangang Yeo looked surprised at how fast Zhang Xingyun was promoted. This is also thanks to the recommendation of my captain at the time, and the perfect timing. Yeah, that's right. Time flies. This summer vacation is almost over. Zhang Xingyun sighed. It is already mid-August, and there are more than 20 days before this summer vacation ends. In general, this summer vacation is still quite fulfilling, and I have learned a lot during this time as an investigator. What are your plans for the future? Continue to be an investigator? Nangang Yeo asked, talking about the future. That's not necessarily the case. If there is something I'm interested in, I will do it. Do you have a goal now? Yes, a small goal. 100 million. No. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and said with a smile, win the King Cup and become one of the 4 Heavenly Kings. PFFT. Yeah, very good. You have an ideal. You keep working hard. Nangang Yeo laughed. She thought the small goal he was talking about was 100 million, but she didn't expect it to be this. From the perspective of difficulty, 100 million is much easier than the 4 Heavenly Kings. To become the 4 Heavenly Kings, one must win the College League, and then go through the King Cup and other competitions, to become the 4 Heavenly Kings. What are you laughing at? Don't you believe me? Seeing Nangang Yeo chuckle, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. I definitely believe you. I was just a little surprised just now. Then I'll have a big goal, to become the champion of China. Ha, let's work hard together. The 2 chatted about the future together until the evening, and then came to a luxurious restaurant, and had dinner together. As soon as they finished eating, Zhang Xingyun's cell phone rang. He picked it up, and saw that it was Yi Crossing calling. Hello Xingyun, Hang Jian and I are going back now. Where are you? Do you want to go back with us? Yi Crossing's voice came from the phone, accompanied by the sound of a car engine. Okay, I'm having dinner here at Human Foodie. Come and pick me up. Zhang Xingyun replied. Okay, I'll be there soon. Yi Crossing's cheerful voice came from the phone, and then he hung up. Is it Yi Crossing who called? Are you going back now? Nangang Yeo asked. Well, he's going back to Huayang now, and asked me by the way. Then, anything else? Seeing Nangang Yeo's hesitation, Zhang Xingyun asked. No, I wanted to go shopping to digest the food, but since you're going back to Huayang, forget it. How about you go back to Huayang with me and stay there for a few days? Forget it, I have something else to do tomorrow. Let's talk about it when we have time. Nangang Yeo said lightly. Oh, okay. At this time, the phone rang again. After answering, Yi Crossing said in the phone that he had arrived. Zhang Xingyun asked him to wait a moment, stood up and went to the front desk to pay the bill, and then walked down with Nangang Yeo. Oh, the beautiful Nangang is here too. Am I here at the wrong time? Seeing the two people walking together, Yi Crossing said with a smile. It's not a good time, we just met and had a meal together. Zhang Xingyun put away the elf hatching device and got in the car. Nangang, do you want to go back to Huayang together? Looking at Nangang Yeo who was not there, Yi Xingfa asked. No, I'll go there another day when I have time. Be careful on the road and have a safe trip. Nangang Yeo shook her head and refused. Okay, then we are leaving. Bye. Yeah, bye. Nangang Yeo waved her hand and said. Boom boom boom, the engine of the car sounded, and the vehicle drove out of the city. Xingyun, when did you meet the beautiful Nangang today? Yi Xingfa asked in the car, with a very curious tone. Around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Are you two dating? I just saw that the beautiful Nangang didn't look very good. Did I disturb you too? Ha ha ha. What are you talking about? I just happened to have a meal, and then you came. Zhang Xingyun explained. TSK, TSK, TSK. Yi Crossing clicked his tongue a few times, with a look of disbelief on his face, then stopped teasing, and concentrated on driving. We're in the suburbs. Okay. He got out of the car, released Charizard, flipped over and jumped onto Charizard's back. Woo-ah, Charizard flapped its wings and took off into the air, with Yi Crossing and the others following behind. Whoosh, blowing the oncoming evening breeze, they rushed towards Huayang. Looking down, the forest was like a pitch-black giant beast lurking on the ground. From time to time in the forest, a shrill humming sound came from the forest, and a few pairs of scalded eyes flashed. This forest is a hell for the weak and a paradise for the strong. The weak elves are struggling to survive in the hands of the powerful hunters, and they are in a state of panic. Such a scene is the real existence of the world in the elf era. The beauty of comics is not even a trace here. Chapter 381, Ghastly Hatching. On the way back to Huayang, except for encountering a few stubborn Pokémons, they arrived smoothly all the way to the outskirts of Huayang County. Yi Crossing and the others also arrived at the same time, got on the sports car together, and returned home. After opening the door, the electric beasts automatically came out of the Pokéballs and moved freely, while Zhang Xingyun held Gastly's Pokéball and put it on the table in the hall. Gurgle, several bubbles emerged from the incubator and moved slightly. The Gastly inside was quite energetic and vibrant. Zhang Xingyun squatted down and looked at the Gastly in the incubator. The body was emitting a dazzling green light, and a stream of vitality-rich energy was input into the incubator. Gurgle, after inputting energy, the Gastly in the incubator became excited and absorbed the energy. Little guy, absorb it slowly, and it's all yours. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile, and the Gastly in the incubator also shook a few times, as if replying to him. Zhang Xingyun stood up, went to the bathroom to take a shower, and then lay on the sofa in the living room, and played with his mobile phone. It's already past 12 o'clock. Time flies so fast. Zhang Xingyun felt that he had only played with his phone for a while. When he looked at the time, it was 12 o'clock. He quickly got up, and saw that the hatching liquid in the incubator had faded a little. He replaced it with a new one, and sent a ball of energy into it, letting the Gastly in the incubator slowly absorb it. Go to bed early, and play less games. Hey boo Kami Kami. Zhang Xingyun returned to the bedroom, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to practice. 2 days later, at the training ground of the Huang County Pokémon Center, Zhang Xingyun and the Pokémons were all around a shining Pokéball, waiting for it to hatch. Even though they had experienced many hatchings, it still felt great every time they saw a Pokémon hatch. Several cracks appeared on the Pokéball, and a figure floated out of the egg. A special Ghastly appeared in front of Zhang Xingyun and the Pokémons. Ghastly had large white eyes, small pupils, and a mouth with a pair of fangs. Ordinary Ghastly is surrounded by purple glowing smoke, and the Ghastly in front of Zhang Xingyun is also surrounded by silver white smoke, and the whole elf seems to be albino. This is a shining form of Ghastly. Ghastly, welcome to join our big family. Nidoking, and the others also greeted the little brother in front of them, among which Iron Dumbbell was particularly active. It was not the youngest. His Ghastly also greeted the elves in a friendly manner. When it was a Pokémon egg, it also remembered the breath of the electric beasts. His Ghastly floated in front of Zhang Xingyun, hissing. Zhang Xingyun smiled and raised a hand, with green light on his hand, and stroked Ghastly. The touch was very cold, like touching jelly. His Ghastly enjoyed the touch, or rather the life energy on his hand. Ghost-type Pokémons are extremely in need of life energy, so some Ghost-type Pokémons absorb the life energy of humans and Pokémons. In addition to the special nature of Ghost-type Pokémons, people define Ghost-type Pokémons as dangerous Pokémons. Except for professional trainers, ordinary people cannot interact with them. The green light energy ball emitted by Zhang Xingyun just happened to breed the purest life energy. After a while, Ghastly had absorbed enough, and floated back to the Pokémon egg, spreading into a black cloud that wrapped the eggshell. After a few clicks, the Pokémon egg's eggshell disappeared, and Ghastly lazily lay on the table, as if digesting food. You're still full. Zhang Xingyun laughed a few times, told the Pokémons to keep an eye on Ghastly, and went to the study room, took out a notebook, and started to take notes on Ghastly's cultivation. On the investigator's website, he downloaded a set of Ghastly's training program, read it and made some modifications. Half an hour later, Ghastly's training plan was ready. After Ghastly passes the initial stage, training can be started. Years passed quickly, and it was the end of August. During this period, Nidoking and the others also made some progress, and their strength reached a higher level. Lady Huaji, Charizard, and Blastoise all broke through to the late elite stage. However, Shakiras and Kabutops were in the middle elite stage, and had not evolved yet. As quasi-god elves, their growth rate was still a bit slow at this stage, even if the resources used were more and more advanced. Zhang Xingyun just let it go. As long as they grew happily, there was no rush to evolve. Iron Dumbbell also evolved into a metal monster, and its strength reached the late ordinary stage. Ghastly also broke through to the early ordinary stage in such a good environment, and it was not far from the plan. Giant Claw Mantis was still hovering in the middle Quasi-King stage. At its level, it still needed some time and accumulation to break through its strength. The remaining Nidokings were also hovering at the peak of the elite, honing their strength and looking for an opportunity to break through to the Quasi-King level. On this day, in a dense forest on the northwest side of Huang, a large pit that had just been dug was paved with special materials. There was a whole pit of purple liquid in the pit, bubbling and making gurgling sounds. A layer of light purple mist emanated from the liquid and the surrounding trees with it, and died in a very short time when the mist rose. It can be seen that the toxicity is strong. Zhang Xingyun stood by, wrapped in a light energy protective film, poured a bottle of blue potion into the pit, and then took out a few oval stones filled with rich ground energy, and threw them down together. Gurgle. Okay, Nidoking, you can go down and soak, feel the energy contained in it, use it to break through the bottleneck of Quasi-King, and absorb more within the range allowed by your body. Zhang Xingyun patted Nidoking on the shoulder and instructed. Nidoking responded, then stepped into the pit, bathing in the purple liquid, and roared comfortably. Nidoking's aura was also slowly rising, approaching the level of Quasi-King. His Ghastly looked at the rising purple mist with eagerness on his face. But Zhang Xingyun didn't speak, and it wouldn't go over. Go, those mists can also help, but remember not to absorb too much. Looking at Ghastly's appearance, Zhang Xingyun smiled and said, letting it go to absorb the diffused purple mist. Ghastly is also a poison type Pokémon, and it can absorb some of that. Hiss after hearing this, Ghastly rushed over excitedly, wrapped in the purple mist, absorbing energy. Chapter 380 to Quasi Heavenly King Nidoking. Nidoking roared loudly, and the purple liquid in the pit also boiled violently at this moment. The essence in the liquid was also absorbed into Nidoking's body, making its purple body glow with purple light, and its momentum became more compelling. A wave of air blew, and Nidoking also let out a long roar. At this moment, it crossed the threshold of Quasi King and successfully broke through to the level of Quasi King, becoming a Quasi King level Pokémon. After roaring, Nidoking squatted down again, and continued to bathe in the purple liquid. Taking advantage of this breakthrough opportunity, he continued to absorb the energy of the liquid in the pit, to consolidate the realm he had just broken through. His Ghastly also absorbed enough of the poisonous energy of the mist, and lazily flew back to Zhang Xingyun's side, returned to the Pokeball, and digested the energy he had just absorbed. Zhang Xingyun stood in place, quietly watching Nidoking bathing in the purple liquid in the pit. After a while, Nidoking stood up again, climbed out of the pit, came to Zhang Xingyun, and showed him his strong body. Nido hahaha, well, it took you more than a year to break through to this level. Let's go to the Magic City University next. Looking at the purple giant beast in front of him, and the surging momentum on his body, Zhang Xingyun said with satisfaction. In more than a year, the small Nidolang has become the tall and domineering Nidoking in front of him, and his strength has broken through to the Quasi King level today. With the current strength of Nidoking, his combat power is not much worse than that of the elves in the middle stage of the Quasi King. It will be easier to deal with some of the ones that are restrained by it. Clean up the scene. Nidoking's feet stepped on the ground slightly, and several pale yellow ground energy spread towards the pit. The ground rolled up, and after a rumbling sound, the pit at the original place disappeared, replaced by a pile of wet soil. The original purple liquid has been buried deep under the ground. The essence of the purple liquid had been absorbed by Nidoking and buried deep underground. After a while, it would be purified by the powerful natural power, and green grass and trees would grow here again. Let's go. You have successfully broken through today. To celebrate your successful breakthrough, let's go to the Wanlong Pavilion in Changning tonight for a meal. There is nothing good to eat here in Nanhu. He put Nidoking back into the Pokeball, released Pidgeot, rode on its back, and flew towards Changning. There were no attacks along the way. He flew to the outskirts of Changning, changed to a motorcycle, and came to the Wanlong Pavilion. Under the guidance of the waiter, he walked into the box. He released the Pokémons, and waited for a while. Plates of food were delivered one after another. Nidokings began to eat with great relish, their mouths full of oil, very heroic. At the table, the Pokémons congratulated the big brother Nidoking for successfully breaking through the Quasi King. The electric beast also picked up 2 small barrels of fruit wine and drank with Nidoking. Fruit wine is made from tree fruits. It is brewed by Wanlong Pavilion, based on the research of elves. It is nutritious and tastes good. Nidoking and his friends liked it very much after drinking it. Every time they came to Wanlong Pavilion for dinner, they would definitely order it. Zhang Xingyun naturally followed their lead. As long as they were happy, it was fine. Today, he planned to stay in Changling for one night. Tomorrow, he would visit Lingfeng and tell him about his resignation. After returning to his home in Changning, he hadn't lived there for a while, so he spent some time cleaning it. This room was rented by him, and it expired in October. His own house was relatively small, and Nidoking and his friends couldn't accommodate them. There is still more than 100 million left. I can buy a house in the Magic City. Lying on the sofa, Zhang Xingyun looked at the balance on his phone, and planned that the more than 100 million was the remaining money after cultivating elves. Although he made a lot of money, he also spent a lot of money. Cultivating elves is not cheap, especially with such an advanced cultivation model. If he didn't know how to make energy blocks himself, there would not be 100 million left. It is estimated that there would be only a few million left. In the next 4 years, I will also live in the Magic City. It would be nice to buy a house to live in. With my own financial resources, I can afford one. Looking at the noisy elves, Zhang Xingyun smiled, and went back to the bedroom to practice. After a night of silence, time quickly came to the next morning. After breakfast, I sat on the sofa for a while, turned on my phone, and replied to the messages on WeChat. I will soon leave my job, and I have to deal with the things at hand to facilitate the handover of the next person. After replying to the message, it was 8:30. I put away my phone and came to the elf center in Changning. I went straight to Ling Feng's office and knocked on the door. "Come in." Ling Feng's loud voice came from inside. "Pa, Uncle Ling is busy." After opening the door and walking in, I saw Ling Feng sitting in the office chair, looking at the documents. There are many documents on the desk. The affairs of a city are naturally more than those of a county in Huayang. Naturally, Ling Feng is busier every day than Zhang Xingyun. "Oh, it's Xingyun. Come sit down." Seeing that the person coming was Zhang Xingyun, Ling Feng greeted him, frowned, stood up from his office chair, walked to the reception sofa and sat down. "When and how did you come to Changning? Are you busy with Huayang's affairs?" Ling Feng asked, while fiddling with a tea set. "I'm not busy. I arrived last night and came here to see you, Uncle Ling, today." "Ha ha ha, have some tea." Ling Feng laughed and seemed to be in a good mood. "The day after tomorrow is September 1st. I have to rush to the Magic City in advance. I will go to handle the resignation procedures in the afternoon." After drinking a cup of tea, Zhang Xingyun said, "Time flies. It's almost September. You should go to college. It's good to go to college. It's also good to go out more and see more of the outside world. You can appreciate different scenery and meet different people." Ling Feng's face also showed a look of nostalgia, thinking back to when he was in college. Yes. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, "Soon, the gym competition will start. The national competition will be held tomorrow in September. You can participate." "I will. We can also travel along the way." Haha. "Yeah." The two chatted for half an hour, and Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left. "Just sit for a while. It would be bad if you delay too long and affect your work." After leaving the Pokémon Center, Zhang Xingyun came to Changning No. 9 Middle School and visited Principal Li Yuning and several teachers Wang Yu. The teachers took good care of him when he was still weak, and Zhang Xingyun was very grateful for this. Principal Li Yuning and others were also very happy to see Zhang Xingyun coming. They also liked Zhang Xingyun, an excellent and polite student. They chatted until noon. After having a meal at school together, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left. He had to rush to Nanhai City in the afternoon to handle his resignation. After leaving school, Zhang Xingyun rode Pidgeot and flew towards Nanhai City. He arrived in Nanhai City at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Chapter 383 Resignation. Arriving at the Elf Center in Nanhai City, he explained his purpose to the staff of the Elf Center and asked about the procedures. "Investigator Zhang, Chiefan wants you to come over." A female staff member walked up to Zhang Xingyun and said softly, "Okay." Under the guidance of the staff member, Zhang Xingyun came to An Honghua's office. After the woman opened the door of the office, she let Zhang Xingyun go in, then closed the door and returned to her post. "You are here. Are you here to handle the resignation procedures today?" An Honghua said lightly on the office chair. He had read Zhang Xingyun's information and knew that he was about to go to college. "Yes, I will go to college in September and cannot take care of it." "That's good." And Honghua stood up from his chair, patted his body, walked over, and said, "Sit down. I asked them to help you with your resignation procedures. Just sit for a while." Zhang Xingyun thanked him, and An Honghua waved his hand, indicating that "You are welcome. Dong Dong, come in." The staff member who originally brought Zhang Xingyun here came in with 2 cups of fragrant tea, placed them on the table for the 2 people, and then retreated. "What are your plans for the future, Zhang? If you want to be a search officer, you can consider developing in Nanhai City. You have been working here for a while, and you know the work process." And Honghua chuckled and took a sip of the steaming fragrant tea on the table. Okay, I'll consider it. You should know the policies related to search officers this year." "I know, Uncle Ling told me." Haha, it seems that old Ling treats you as his nephew. I guess he also told you that you are going to be a search officer." "Yes, it was Uncle Ling who told me." Zhang Xingyun admitted that he was originally planning how to spend this summer vacation, and later Ling Feng suggested that he should be a search officer. and after being engaged, according to the relevant policies this year, if he continues to be a search officer in the future, he will start at the current level. Even if you choose other industries, there are still some care. In short, compared with the starting point of some people, it is much higher. After a while, a man came into the office with 1 or 2 briefcases, and Hang He signed his name and handed one of the briefcases to Zhang Xingyun. This is your file of working as an investigator in the past few months. If you say you want to go to that government agency in the future, you can hand in this file. It is still very useful, and Hang He explained. Okay. Then the two chatted for a while. Seeing that Hang He had a lot of things to do, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left the office. Is this the result of my past few months? Walking on the road, looking at the briefcase in his hand, Zhang Xingyun murmured. In 4 years, Nidoking and others should be able to break through to the level of Heavenly King. I don't know how useful this is. Then he put the briefcase away and put it in the space. From now on, he is an unemployed vagrant. Not in a hurry to go back, Zhang Xingyun wandered around Nanhai City and appreciated the charm of this newly built city. Last time I came, I didn't have time to go shopping, but now I can look around. After a walk, Zhang Xingyun felt that it was quite good. Nanhai City, as a newly built city, is now developing very well. With the help of several nearby cities, it will soon become a prosperous city. Then Zhang Xingyun came to Huayang and returned to his original villa. This villa still belongs to Zhang Xingyun. After leaving the job, he just needs to pay a sum of money. As soon as he entered the house, his cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Yi Crossing who opened it. Xingyun, have you returned to Huayang? I'm back and I'm at home now. Zhang Xingyun replied. Have you completed the resignation procedures? Well, what about yours? Have you completed it too? It's done. I'll go to your place with Zhang Xingyun now. Okay, I also bought a batch of ingredients. You can have dinner here by the way. Hahaha, that's fine. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Xingyun packed up the ingredients he had just bought today, placed an order on his mobile phone, and bought some more ingredients. Yi Crossing and Zhang Xingyun were also going to report to the university in early September, just a few days later than him. Seeing Zhang Xingyun resign, they also resigned. After a while, Zhang Xingyun went out to get the ingredients, and Yi Crossing and the others also arrived, inviting them to come in and sit down. The remaining ingredients were handed over to Madame Huaji, who could also prepare them with her cooking skills. Zhang Xingyun also sent a magic wall puppet to help, and the 3 of them chatted in the hall. After working for so long, it can be considered a little reward. Yi Crossing took out a briefcase and patted it. If you continue to work as an investigator in the future, you don't have to start from scratch. In fact, we have gained more than this. The experience during this period of time is also our reward. It's small, right? The pattern is small, right? Zhang Xingyun smiled at Yi Crossing and said, small? Then it's small. Yi Crossing spread his hands, looking indifferent. For him, he came here for this during this period of time, and as for the others, they were just incidental. This year, the policy is good, so I can serve as an investigator. Now I have laid a foundation, and I can continue to work after graduation, and the starting point is higher. Besides, according to the national conditions of our China, the entry requirements for investigators will only become higher and higher in the future. That's right. Zhang Xingyun nodded. By the way, why didn't Nangang come? Didn't you ask her to come? Zhang Xingyun asked after looking around. She went back to Jinling the day before yesterday. It seems that something happened at home. Zhang Xingyun replied. Madame Huaji was calling, and the meal was ready. Zhang Xingyun got up and walked to the kitchen, dragged the food with his supernatural power, and walked out of the kitchen. Let's go. Let's eat outside. It's spacious outside. Zhang Xingyun used his supernatural power to carry the food to the stone table next to the training ground and put it down. After a while, the cooked food was placed on the stone table. Zhang Xingyun and the other 2 sat together with the elves and enjoyed this delicious dinner. Madame Huaji is still very talented in cooking, and the food she cooks is not worse than some chefs. Madame Huaji is your logistics pet, right? Yi Crossing asked during the meal. It's kind of, but not completely. It's just her hobby. I train each Pokémon as a main pet. Oh, I thought your Madame Huaji was a logistics Pokémon like Zhang Xingyun's magic wall doll. Some trainers have a team that specializes in training a logistics pet to meet some daily needs. For things like cleaning, cooking, and healing, the resources invested are naturally less, and the combat effectiveness is naturally not too high. Zhang Xingyun's training of Madame Huaji is completely based on the standards of a main Pokémon, and the resources are sufficient. Although Madame Huaji is still doing some logistics work in the team, she is also a main pet. Chapter 384 News from Zygote. The dinner lasted until after 10 o'clock in the evening. After chatting for a while, Yi Crossing and the others went home. After taking a shower, Zhang Xingyun came to the window and looked at the bright moon in the sky. He stood quietly in front of the window, looking inexplicably sad. I'll go back to Qingshu tomorrow and take a look, Zhang Xingyun murmured, patted his face, and fell asleep on the bed. He didn't plan to rest tonight. He soon fell into a deep sleep. The elves outside looked at each other, then returned to their nests and rested. Vijayat flew to the top of the villa, lay on it to rest, and also paid attention to the surroundings. They all have a habit of being alert, especially at night. Several elves will pay attention to the movements around them. Even at home, there will be an elf guarding the night. The next day, Zhang Xingyun, who was sleeping in bed, moved his eyelashes, opened his eyes, turned his body, changed his posture, and slept for a while, before taking off the thin sheets on his body and picking up his mobile phone to look at it. It's 10 o'clock now. I haven't slept in for a long time. It's still quite comfortable. He stretched himself, opened the bedroom door, and went to the bathroom to wash up. The shouts of the electric beasts came from outside, and they were training outside. After finishing the breakfast prepared by Mrs. Huaji, he went to the training ground outside and sat down. Bathed in the sun, Zhang Xingyun narrowed his eyes and watched the elves training enthusiastically. Guys, stop training and take a rest first. We have to go out later, Zhang Xingyun shouted. After hearing the shout, the elves also stopped training and took a rest. Hiss Ghastly floated in front of Zhang Xingyun, chirping as if asking for credit. Okay, I know you work hard in training. Keep it up. A ball of life energy condensed in his palm for Ghastly to absorb, as a reward for its diligence. The elves also ate a few energy cubes, rested for a while, and left home with Zhang Xingyun, and rushed to Qingshu town. At noon, Vijayat carried Zhang Xingyun, and landed in Qingshu town. He took out a batch of offerings, and placed them on an open space, facing the small building, where he used to live. Mom and Dad, I will leave for the Magic City tomorrow. After muttering a few words, he put the incense in the incense burner, and stood aside quietly looking at the ruins. This was where he used to live, but now it has become a ruin with weeds. Squeak click, there was a movement not far away. After using mental power to detect, it was a few Radis. The Radar in the lead was an ordinary level elf. Go, kill the elves in this area, Zhang Xingyun ordered coldly. His face was very unhappy. Hassan Wu, the giant mantises, and others went out and slaughtered the elves in this area. After a while, the giant mantises returned to Zhang Xingyun's side, stood behind him, and accompanied him. There was a smell of blood in the air. On an island in the East China Sea, a handsome man and a beautiful woman stood together, staring at a blue elf on the field. The blue elf was Lucario. Bogey, be with me. The man raised one hand, and the wave energy on his body instantly boiled up, bubbling out, and entangled with Lucario. The blue wave energy wrapped Lucario inside, turning into a cocoon-shaped energy body. Lucario roared, and with a bang, the cocoon slowly dissipated, revealing the blue Lucario inside. At this time, Lucario's eyes were shining, emitting an inexplicable pressure, and the aura on his body was surprisingly entering the realm of the king. Due to this energy feedback, the man's aura also rose, and his energy fluctuations were comparable to the peak of the Quasi King. Finally broke through the king, and the next thing will be much easier. Looking at the extraordinary Lucario on the field, the man showed a happy expression. The man was Zhang Xingyun's elder brother Zhang Xingfeng, and the woman was his girlfriend Feng Xiaoli. Lucario has also broken through to the Heavenly King, so the next action will be safer. Feng Xiaoli was also delighted, looking at Zhang Xingfeng tenderly. This is also thanks to your help, Leah. Otherwise I don't know when I can break through to the Heavenly King. Zhang Xingyun said gently, holding Feng Xiaoli's delicate hand. You have to be more careful in this mission. You must not be careless when it comes to the divine beast. Feng Xiaoli warned, with a worried look on her face. Don't worry, the divine beast doesn't have much combat power, and it's a group action. It's nothing serious, just relax. In short, be careful. No matter how careful you are about the divine beast, it's not too much. Okay, I know. Zhang Xingyun said softly, looking at the two photos in his hand, one of which looked like a green worm, and the other looked like a Doberman. Zygote? The supervisor of the ecosystem? Zhang Xingyun murmured. A week ago, a large secret realm appeared in the South China Sea. At the same time, Team Rocket, the Chinese government, and the governments of nearby countries all sent many powerful trainers to explore this secret realm. According to past experience, a secret realm of this size must have a huge amount of resources and other scientific and technological information. Team Rocket sent White Tiger, one of the four saints, to explore. By chance, they encountered a green worm-like Pokémon. At this time, an old scholar in the team recognized that the Pokémon was the legendary Pokémon, Zygote, and strongly suggested capturing it. Although it is not a complete beast, it also has great research value. For Team Rocket, who want to master the power of the beast, it is naturally impossible to let it go. They can't beat them in their complete form, but it's hard to say in this state. The scholar also told White Tiger all the information about Zygote. After thinking for a while, White Tiger took action to capture it. Unexpectedly, Zygote let out a long howl and turned into a Pokémon the size of a Doberman. He fought fiercely with the White Tiger. The champion White Tiger cooperated with several Heavenly Kings to attack, but failed to catch him. Considering some reasons, the White Tiger asked for help from the headquarters and explained the situation, which led to this mission. Although the leader is leading the team this time, you have to be careful. I heard that the beast has several other forms. I don't know if it will be activated. You have to be careful. Feng Xiaoli was still worried and continued to remind him. Okay. Zhang Xingyun responded with a smile. Xingyun is about to go to the Magic City to attend university at this time. Looking at the endless sea, Zhang Xingyun said softly, thinking of Zhang Xingyun. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385 Arrival at the Magic City. On the second day, Zhang Xingyun arrived at Changning Airport early and lined up for security check. It was almost September, and many students had to rush to college. There were also many freshmen who came to the airport together with their parents and went to college together. Looking at the crowd of people seeing off others, Zhang Xingyun lined up in a long queue and heard all kinds of farewell words. The atmosphere became a little reluctant and sentimental. After passing the security check, Zhang Xingyun followed the flow of people and followed the instructions of the signboard to find the plane he was going to take. Although space backpacks have appeared now, many people are reluctant to buy them. Along the way, I also saw many people pulling suitcases. The staff in the airport were also leading people, and the radio was also loudly broadcasting the flight information over and over again to remind people. After boarding the plane, I picked up a magazine and flipped through it. 20 minutes later, the plane began to take off and flew towards the direction of the Magic City. Goodbye Changning. Through the window, I watched the appearance of Changning City getting farther and farther away and slowly getting smaller. Zhang Xingyun also considered going to the Magic City by himself instead of taking a plane, but in the end he decided to give up. It would be easier to fly to the Magic City by plane. As one of the top first-tier cities in China, the Magic City naturally has its charm. Before the elves came, the Magic City was also a first-tier city in China, and then the Magic City became more prosperous because of the elves. There are countless high-rise buildings towering into the sky, and the roads are crowded with cars and people. At around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Zhang Xingyun landed at the Magic City airport. After picking up his things, he walked out of the huge airport. Is this the Magic City? The city where I will stay for 4 years. Looking at the bustling crowd, Zhang Xingyun said softly, "Forget it, let's go see if there are any houses to buy and buy a house to live in first." He took out his mobile phone, selected a place where houses were sold, took a taxi, and rushed over. It is also forbidden to ride elves at will in the Magic City. The management in this regard is quite strict. If you ride an elf on the road, you have to take an elf driver's license. It was not the rush hour, and there was no traffic jam along the way. The driver was a talkative middle-aged man, a local of Shanghai, who introduced various places in Shanghai along the way. After arriving at the place, Zhang Xingyun thanked him and got off the car and came to a place selling buildings. When he walked in, a beautiful young woman came to greet him. When she heard that he wanted to buy a house, she introduced the house enthusiastically. "My requirement is that the place should be large and the facilities inside should be complete, which can meet the training of elves. There is no need to introduce me to apartments or something. Take me to see the villa." Zhang Xingyun interrupted and stated his needs. "That's it, sir. Please come here." After hearing Zhang Xingyun's needs, the woman smiled even sweeter and became more excited. She thought Zhang Xingyun was here to buy an ordinary house, but she didn't expect to buy a villa, so her commission would be much higher. She took him to see the model of the villa and introduced it on the side. "Then let's take this one." Zhang Xingyun pointed to a villa model and said lightly, "This villa is quite large, with a swimming pool and training grounds, and the decoration style is also quite pleasing to his eyes." "How much is this one?" Zhang Xingyun asked. "Sir, this villa is priced at 200 million. I can apply for a 10% discount for you, that is, 180 million. The villa also has matching furniture and daily necessities, so it is convenient for you to move in with your luggage." "Well, then this one," Zhang Xingyun said. "Okay, sir, please come with me to sign the contract." The formalities were handled very quickly, and Zhang Xingyun came out half an hour later. The villas in the Magic City are expensive. It's the elf era, and they are still sold at such a high price. Now it's like going back to the pre-liberation era. Zhang Xingyun chuckled. After buying this villa, the balance of more than 100 million on the card was gone, and more than 10 million was borrowed from the bank. The materials on his body are enough to cultivate giant mantises for a period of time. As for money, Zhang Xingyun doesn't care much. At the stage of aqua-seeking, he is not afraid of having no money to spend. As long as he goes out to hunt in the wild, he can get a lot of money. Arriving at his newly bought villa, he released all the elves, took a group photo, edited it, and posted it on WeChat Moments. "I bought a villa in Shanghai this year with my own efforts." Expression picture. As soon as it was posted, Yi Crossing and others liked and commented. "Big guys are big guys." They bought a villa as soon as they arrived in Shanghai. "I was still asking my parents for money." Yi Crossing left a message. Zhang K and others also left messages like "come on." After Zhang Xingyun replied to a few people, he left a message to come to Shanghai to play with him when he was free. Then he quit WeChat, opened a Life app, and bought a bunch of food for them to deliver. Today was his first day in Shanghai, and it was also a happy occasion for moving to a new house. He would have a good meal tonight. In a short while, the food was delivered, very fast. Hey boo, the game equipment will be bought in a few days. You can go to the training ground to practice and get familiar with it. We will all live here from now on," Zhang Xingyun said, and got busy with Mrs. Huaji. After leaving the west city of Magic City, there is a Xianlan forest, which seems to have a lot of resources. "I have to go there when I have time." Zhang Xingyun thought to himself that while practicing, he could also make some money. "If I have time, I can also go to Magic City University. The Magic City University and the Elf era should be different. I should be able to see the school's sacred beast Sukyun by then." The admission letter of Magic City University was engraved with Sukyun. This was the closest he had ever been to the sacred beast, but he didn't know what the data of the sacred beast was. Thinking of this, Zhang Xingyun was still a little looking forward to it. The sacred beast, reality is not anime, and it is impossible to see the sacred beast often in reality. Cheers, today is our first day in Magic City, starting a new life, let's have a drink. Nidohabu. In the spacious training ground, Zhang Xingyun and the elves had a sumptuous dinner. After dinner, Zhang Xingyun did not stay in the villa, but went out for a walk. Magic City became more lively at night, even more lively than during the day. Following the navigation, he came to a commercial area with stalls. This is a place for trainers to trade. The stalls are not selling ordinary things, but items related to Pokémon. Come and have a look. Woo woo, a young stall owner called out, and his Growlithe was beside him, helping the trainer to call out to customers. Other stalls also had Pokémons doing business together. Chapter 386, Shopping and Visiting. After walking around here, he found that there were many high-level resources for sale at the stalls. There were a few that Zhang Xingyun liked very much, so he went forward to ask the price. How much are these poison dragon grasses? Zhang Xingyun squatted down and pointed at the dark purple grass about 20 centimeters long on the ground and asked. Only for exchange, not for sale. The stall owner was a tall, thin, dark-skinned middle-aged man who was out all year round. What do you want to exchange? Poison energy cubes, or energy cubes used by poison elves, at least intermediate and higher level is best. The stall owner explained lightly. This box is a universal high level energy cube. Do you want to exchange it? Zhang Xingyun took out a box of Yuanling and handed it to him. The tall and thin stall owner opened the lid, and a burst of fragrance filled the air. After carefully checking it, he looked at Zhang Xingyun and said, I need to check this right away and do an experiment on 2 of them. Okay. The tall and thin stall owner took out a small knife, scraped a little from 2 of the energy cubes, took out a small instrument, put it in, and the machine kept beeping. Seeing the machine's response, the tall and thin stall owner's face lit up and said, I still have some poison dragon grass. Do you need more? How much? Zhang Xingyun asked. And these? The tall and thin stall owner took out a small pile of poison dragon grass from his space backpack and placed it on the stall. How many boxes do you want to exchange for these? Brother, you also know that it is not easy to pick poison dragon grass. It is a great supplement for poison type elves. I have lost several elves for these poison dragon grass. The tall and thin stall owner said pitifully. Exchange for 10 boxes of energy cubes like this. Let's be considerate of each other. Haha. Zhang Xingyun laughed. I'll take out 3 more boxes, plus the one in your hand. A total of 4 boxes. Do you want to exchange? If not, I'm leaving. Hey, brother, how can you be so stingy? How about this? I'll suffer a loss. 8 boxes. Do you think high level energy cubes are easy to get? I have a good stock here. Do you want 4 boxes? If not, return the box in your hand to me. Zhang Xingyun stood up and stretched out his arm to beg for it. No, let's put it this way. I'll take a step back. 6 boxes of energy cubes. I can't give them back. Brother, you see, my dragon grass is also of excellent quality. The tall and thin stall owner said anxiously. High-grade energy cubes are not easy to get, so he naturally got more. Seeing that Zhang Xingyun was quite young, he thought he could ask for more, but he didn't expect that he was also a bargaining expert. I'll give you another box. If you want it, it's just like this. If not, I'll leave. Zhang Xingyun took out 4 boxes of energy cubes from the space. Do you want it? If not, I'll leave. Yes. Oh, life is not easy. Even if I'm giving you face, you can continue to look. Which one do you need? The price is negotiable. The tall and thin stall owner took it when he saw the good and agreed again and again. No, that's all. Okay, then I'll pack it for you. Come to my place more often in the future. Tell me which one you like. The price is negotiable. The tall and thin stall owner smiled, and Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. More. Then, Zhang Xingyun took out some more energy cubes and exchanged them for what he wanted. The stall owners were all experienced people. Seeing Zhang Xingyun's age, they gave him a high price, but it didn't matter. In front of him who was frugal, they just exchanged for a decent price. They couldn't refuse. They rarely got high-level energy cubes. Even in the megacity of Magic City, trainers of their level could not get many. High-level energy was also a limitation for them. In addition to energy cubes, they also needed many other high-level items. The higher the level, the more precious and rarer. Now that I have the poison dragon grass, I can make Nidoking's very poison when I have time. After buying what he needed, Zhang Xingyun was in a very good mood. He bought a cup of milk tea, drank it while walking around, and continued to see if there was anything he needed. Very poison was the formula for high level energy cubes, which Zhang Xingyun exchanged for inside the investigator with merit points. Target: Zhang Xingyun has 5 high level energy blocks: Blastoise's Boundless Sea, Vegeta's Storm, Electric Beast's Thunder, Nidoking's Vampire Poison, and the Universal Elemental Spirit. He originally wanted to exchange for the Giant Claw Mantis, but unfortunately there was no only one suitable for Nidoking, and one suitable for Metal Monster. After comprehensive consideration, he exchanged for the recipe of Vampire Poison. After visiting the stalls, he also went to the nearby stores to explore the situation, took out some items that the space did not use, and looked at the prices given by these stores at the sales point. After visiting more than 20 stores, only 3 or 4 made Zhang Xingyun feel good, and he could trade more in the future. In the future, the things obtained from hunting in the wild can be tried in these stores, just like with Bosley and Changning, which is very convenient. Seeing that it was getting late, Zhang Xingyun returned to the villa, washed up, sat for a while, and then went back to the bedroom to practice. The night passed quickly, and the next day came again. After breakfast, Zhang Xingyun left home again. This time, his purpose was to go to the place where he would go to school in a few days, Magic City University. He walked and looked along the way, and arrived at the gate of Magic City University at 9 o'clock. Zhang Xingyun walked straight in, walking on the tree-lined road, feeling this top university in China. The campus was also very lively, except for the freshmen who didn't come. People from other grades came back. From time to time, cheers came from the training ground, cheering for the wonderful performance of the elves on the field. Zhang Xingyun also went over to see that it was a Charizard fighting against the Lizard King. Both elves were late elite elves with good strength. The Lizard King on the field flickered, and under the correct command of the trainer, he suppressed the Charizard. In terms of attributes, the Lizard King was restrained by the Charizard. This Lizard King could still fight like this, which showed that this Lizard King was extraordinary. Zhang Xingyun was curious, and opened the system to check it out. It was really extraordinary. The qualification of this Lizard King was dark blue, and it could be cultivated to be a king. Charizard's aptitude is a little worse. It is a light sign aptitude. He also has fewer skills, and is still a little far from his Charizard. It is worthy of being one of the top 10 schools in China. Students fighting in any of them have such strength. Zhang Xingyun sighed. Then he went to see several other battlefields. Most of them were elite level Pokémon fighting, and their aptitude was not low. The performance of the trainers was also remarkable. Zhang Xingyun looked to the northeast. He felt that there was an extremely strong water energy there, and there was also a faint pressure. Zhang Xingyun guessed that it should be the location of the school's guardian beast Sukyun. Chapter 387, Battle of Metal Monsters. In the school, he naturally couldn't use his Pokémon power to explore the surroundings, which was impolite. He walked around until noon, but he didn't finish. After having lunch in the cafeteria, he left the university. There would be plenty of time to walk around later. This afternoon, he planned to go hunting in the Xianlan forest to obtain some resources. It was just right for him to practice with Metallo and Ghastly and enhance their fighting ability. After a while, Zhang Xingyun came to the Xianlan forest, put Pidgeot into the Pokeball, and released Ghastly and Metallo. Metallo, it's time for you to show off. Let me see what progress you have made during this period of time. Zhang Xingyun said to the 2 Pokémon beside him. Zhang, let's go. Pokémon were very rare on the road, just after entering the forest, and from time to time, he encountered trainers who came here to hunt. When he saw him with Metallo and Ghastly, he avoided him from a distance. They didn't think Zhang Xingyun was an ordinary trainer, as he had a quasi-god shiny Pokémon and a shiny Ghastly. They just had to avoid him. It was better to be careful in the wild. There were also a few daring people who saw Zhang Xingyun with 2 Pokémons. Their eyes were hot, and they were using communicators, and they didn't know what they were doing. HMPH Zhang Xingyun snorted coldly, and a wave of energy came out of his body, breaking the surrounding trees in half, and stirring up a cloud of dust. Then he moved instantly, taking the two Pokémons and leaving here. This was a warning, and it was up to them, whether to listen or not. If they dared to rob him, don't blame him for being rude, because many people died in the wild. He would not be polite to those who robbed him, but he just didn't want to cause trouble, which didn't mean that he didn't have the ability to solve the trouble. After walking for a long time, he didn't encounter any suitable Pokémons, and there were very few Pokémons. There were many trainers in the Magic City, and there were trainers hunting Pokémons outside the forest every day, so that after walking for so long, and going more than 20 kilometers deep, he didn't see even an elite Pokémon. After a few teleportations, it went deeper into the forest. Cuba, as soon as it appeared, it saw a symbol digging honey, and there were more than a dozen dead hornets lying beside it. The battle was very tragic, but the result was very obvious. The symbol won. This scene is very common in the forest. Symbol loves to eat honey, and hornets can make honey, so you can often see symbols and hornets fighting in the forest. If the symbol wins, it can taste the sweet honey. If it loses, its flesh and blood will become nutrients for hornets. Early elite, Metal Monster, you go ahead. Dang his Gars, don't be impatient, you have something to show. Hiss Metal Monster, Comet Fist. Dang, the Metal Monster floated in the air, and turned into a white light and rushed over. Ku the bear, who was digging honey, felt a sound of breaking air from behind, coming towards it, so he quickly stopped digging honey, and raised his hands to protect his body. Bang, the Comet Fist of the Metal Monster arrived. Unprepared, the bear was knocked back a few steps by the Comet Fist of the Metal Monster and hit hard against a thick tree beside him. Ku the bear roared when it was attacked, his eyes turned red, and he immediately stood up, and the true energy bomb was successfully condensed and thrown at the Metal Monster. Dang, the Metal Monster dodged the energy bomb, and fired a shiny electric cannon. Ku the bear opened his mouth, and exhaled a hot destructive death light. The two attacks collided in the middle of the way, making a sound of explosion. A big pit was blown out at the place where they met, and the surrounding soil and rocks collapsed. The grass and trees flew, and the dust flew. Dang, the Metal Monster rushed over, and hit the head of the bear with a Comet Fist that was as powerful as 1,000 pounds. The bear put his hands on his head, and took the Metal Monster's move. With a muffled groan, the bear's entire body sank into the ground for more than 10 centimeters. Ku the bear raised his head violently, forced the Metal Monster away, and left his original position, looking at the Metal Monster fiercely. Then he made a move, and his momentum changed slightly. This was a move called bodybuilding, which could improve attack and defense. Ku the bear was not in a good mood. He had just suffered a loss, and now it was his turn to fight back. Bang, a bear face suddenly became very hideous and terrifying, facing the Metal Monster directly, using the Ghost Face skill. Dang, the Metal Monster was not affected by it at all, and another shiny electric cannon was fired. Cuba, one of the bear's arms glowed and crossed together, meeting the shiny electric cannon that was fired. This time, it blocked it. Cuba the bear put his hands together, and a huge gas bomb was condensed and thrown over, and the figure was also running quickly, running towards the location of the Metal Monster. Dang, the Metal Monster was suspended in the air, neatly avoiding the gas bombs, and also distanced itself from the Circle Bear, launching attacks from the side. Cuba the Circle Bear roared repeatedly, lifted the surrounding tree trunks, and swept across. But they were all dodged by the Metal Monster, who launched an attack from the other side and hit the Circle Bear. Ron not being able to hit the opponent, and being attacked by the opponent. This is a very frustrating thing. The Circle Bear is in this situation at this time, and all the attacks it launched were dodged by the Metal Monster. After fighting for a while, the Circle Bear was a little out of breath, staring at the Metal Monster floating above. It also tried to dodge, but the strange thing was that it was always attacked, and the iron lump seemed to know its position, and could always find its position. Bang, after a bright electric cannon, the Circle Bear emerged from the smoke, with scars all over its body, all of which were caused by the Metal Monster. After fighting for so long, the bear also found that it had no way to deal with the elves flying overhead, so it ran in one direction, not even wanting the honey beside it. Seeing that the bear was about to leave, the Metal Monster would not let it go, so it chased after it. Seeing that the metal monster was not far away, the bear turned back and faced the metal monster. This time, the metal monster did not consume it at a distance, but fought with it cautiously. Every time it hit the bear, it caused it to cry out in pain, and the bear's fist landed on its body, making a clanging sound. The two separated, both with injuries on their bodies, looking at each other. Dang, the metal monster rushed over again, and its claws lit up, using alloy claws. Bang bang bang. Although the metal monster is now at the ordinary late stage, it has suppressed the elite early stage bear with its full strength, and pressed the bear tightly. After a while, the bear fell to the ground and lost consciousness. The metal monster was suspended on one side. It won, and there were several fist-sized dents on its body, which were left by the circle bear. After cleaning up the scene, Zhang Xingyun and the two elves continued to look for a suitable target for combat. Chapter 388 Unexpected Fortune. His ghastly's figure flashed by, and several hunting swallowtail butterflies fell to the ground with a snap, falling into a coma. For ordinary midterm and to late term, all were hypnotized by you. It can be seen that you usually work hard in this area. Keep it up. Zhang Xingyun encouraged the excited Ghastly. After a little cleaning, he left the place and headed in one direction. This is the third wave of elves that Ghastly has encountered, and the metal monsters have also fought 3 times. Overall, Zhang Xingyun is quite satisfied with the performance of the two elves. Take a break, you should be hungry. After fighting for so long, eat something to replenish your physical strength. Dang, under a dense tree, the mental power was released to explore a circle, and there was no danger, so he and the two elves rested here. Zhang Xingyun took out the map and looked at it. The current location should be 40 kilometers deep into the Xianlan forest. From the map, it shows that another 80 kilometers deep is the innermost area of the Xianlan forest, which is where the king level activities are. Zhang Xingyun also heard that there are champion Pokémons there, but of course this is just gossip, and he doesn't know if it's true or not. He took out a piece of compressed biscuit and chewed it, looking around. There are traces of human activities here, and there are some special marks on the trees and the ground, which should be made to avoid getting lost. Here Zhang Xingyun also met several powerful trainers, including a quasi-king level trainer, but they just passed by and looked at him, and then continued on their way. Okay, let's continue. After another 20 kilometers, you took a rest. Dang, he took 2 Pokémons, and continued to explore the forest. The combat boots stepped on the withered yellow leaves, making silly sounds, and the 2 Pokémons were alertly paying attention to the surroundings. Rustling, it was the sound of a Pokémon passing by in the distance. Zhang Xingyun was not in a hurry, and continued to walk forward. Libya toucan and a Pidgeot were chasing each other, and the toucan was covered with scars and bald in many places, escaping from the pursuit of the Pidgeot behind. With a whoosh, toucan was hit by Pidgeot's air blade and fell down. The place where it fell was just 10 meters in front of Zhang Xingyun. Thank you for Pidgeot's gift. Seeing toucan suddenly fall, Zhang Xingyun didn't know what to say for a moment, but if you don't take it for free, you're a fool. He threw out a Pokeball and put toucan into the Pokeball. With a dong sound, he succeeded in catching it. When he took the Pokeball in his hand, Pidgeot also swooped down from above. It also saw toucan being put into the Pokeball and still held in Zhang Xingyun's hand, and without saying a word, it came directly to kill. You two should fight together. This Pidgeot is the strength of the middle elite and close to the late stage. Let's see if you two can handle it. Facing the 2 Pokémons, Zhang Xingyun said lightly. Dang, the metal monster took the lead and rushed over, his eyes shining, and used telekinesis to freeze the flying Pidgeot. Then Pidgeot broke free and continued to fly towards this side. Metal monster also quickly rushed forward and collided with Pidgeot. With a muffled sound, metal monster retreated back, but also stopped Pidgeot's attack. His Ghastly also threw a shadow tree at Pidgeot, but was slapped away by Pidgeot and crashed into a tree next to it with a bang. Ghastly used hypnosis to hypnotize Pidgeot, but it didn't work. This also made Pidgeot notice it, and it flew towards Ghastly with a cry. Dang, metal monster blocked in front of Ghastly, blocked Pidgeot's attack, and swung the comet fist to fight with Pidgeot. His Ghastly floated behind, helping metal monster to deal with Pidgeot together. Bang! Metal Monster was repelled by Pidgeot again. It can be seen that Metal Monster had some difficulty facing this Pidgeot. After adjusting, Metal Monster rushed up again and continued to fight, and Ghastly also interfered on the side. For a while, he managed to entangle the Pidgeot. It's still a bit of a stretch. Metal and Ghastly are both at a disadvantage. Zhang Xingyun analyzed as he looked at the battle situation on the field. Bang! Metal was repelled again, and with a bang, it crashed into a big tree. Metal will give you an amplification. Dang! Metal did not refuse. With its current strength, it could only entangle Pidgeot at most, and it was not sure to defeat it. Then Zhang Xingyun attached a spirit attachment to the two elves, and the energy blocks on the two elves increased by a large amount in an instant. Dang! His Metal's energy fluctuations now reached the elite level, and Ghastly also reached the ordinary peak level. Facing Pidgeot again, this time they were no longer at a disadvantage, but instead suppressed Pidgeot. Pidgeot was also stunned by the sudden explosion of the two. A few seconds ago, he was suppressing them, but now they are fighting back. Pidgeot was a little confused. He had never encountered such a thing since he was a child. Boom! After a few moves, Metal Monster's arm punch hit Pidgeot's back hard, and Pidgeot fell to the ground from midair like a kite with a broken string. Then, Metal Monster's shiny electric cannon and Ghastly's stinky mud bomb were thrown out together. Boom! Keep going. Just take the next wave of attacks. Zhang Xingyun reminded. Boom! After a round of attacks, the smoke and dust dissipated, and the aggressive Pidgeot just now lay in the pit, having lost consciousness. A Pokeball was thrown over, and Pidgeot was put back into the Pokeball. What a pleasant surprise. Looking at the Pokeball with Pidgeot in his hand, Zhang Xingyun laughed. Who wouldn't like this unexpected windfall? After receiving this windfall, he continued to move forward with Metal Monster and Ghastly, looking for predestined Pokémon. Walking along the way, he also put things in his bag. After going 7 or 8 kilometers deeper, he put Metal Monster and Ghastly back into the Pokeball and released Blastoise, Shakiras, and Kabutops. Let's go deeper. Kami, Shaki, Q-Ho. The three elves surrounded Zhang Xingyun and walked into the forest. Kami Blastoise seemed to have sensed something and fired 2 barrels in one direction. Boom! Boom! Seeing Blastoise's appearance, Shakiras and Kabutops also knew that it had discovered something, and they all looked in the direction Blastoise was looking at. Not bad, Blastoise. Your wave power is more detailed. Kami, a small figure, jumped out from the fallen trees. It was a stealth dragon that was very good at hiding. Chapter 389. The ambush. Sandy. Before the Dragonite could react, Shakiras immediately attacked. The rustling dust rolled up and turned into a sand roll, wrapping the Dragonite inside. The flying dust suddenly changed, shrank inward, turned into a giant sandball, and slammed to the ground. Boom! The dust dissipated, and the Dragonite had lost its ability to fight and fell to the ground. It was put into the Pokeball and didn't even have the strength to resist, and was directly subdued. From the time the Dragonite was discovered by Blastoise to the time Shakiras attacked and subdued it, there were only 10 seconds. Shakiras, your ability to control sand is getting stronger and stronger. Keep it up. I look forward to you evolving into Bangerous. Zhang Xingyun said, looking at the scene around him that turned into a sandy land after Shakiras attacked. Sandy. Shakiras responded. In the next action, Zhang Xingyun let the three of them play freely and fight flexibly. With a loud rumble, Shakiras and the other two were fighting with 7 Heracruses. One of the Heracruses was a Qua-seeking spirit. It was tall and strong, with a large horn full of scars. It was a Heracrus with rich combat experience. Came Blastoise's 2 gun barrels fired bombardments. The Qua-seeking Heracrus flew over and faced Blastoise. Shakiras and Kabutops were responsible for the other ones. Came Blastoise repelled the flying Heracrus and added a wave missile. Bang! The wave missile was deflected by Heracrus's huge horn and flew over again. His arm was glowing, and he chopped down horizontally, colliding with Blastoise's freezing fist. Bang! Blastoise dragged his heavy body back a few steps. In terms of strength, he was still inferior to Heracrus. Heracrus also took advantage of the victory and approached, using both hands and feet to launch attacks together. Blastoise released the power of Wava Guide and fought with it. Blastoise's melee ability is not weak. With its hard shell, it, a late elite, fought back and forth with this quasi-king Heracross. It also relied on the external Wava guide to sense Heracross's moves and respond, and it still had some advantages in melee attacks. Bang, but Heracross's fighting ability is not weak either. The swinging horn seemed to carry 1,000 pounds of force, forked into the body of Blastoise, and lifted it up. The whole body of Blastoise flew up and fell to the side. Blastoise also adjusted its posture in time and landed without being hurt. Then, when Heracross approached, it would use this fighting method. As long as it found an opportunity, it would pick up Blastoise and then attack the Blastoise in midair. Once or twice, the damage is not high, but if it continues like this, the situation will be unfavorable for Blastoise, and it must find a way to break this. After a little thought, Blastoise came up with a solution. When it landed, a huge water wave hit the ground, followed by a freezing ray, freezing the surrounding ground and making it slippery. Just after the arrangement was completed, Heracross flew over, using the same old trick, trying to pick up Blastoise again. But this time Heracross found that its feet slipped, and there was nowhere to gain leverage. With a bang, it fell on the ice, and hurriedly vibrated its wings, trying to fly up. Blastoise naturally would not give up such a good opportunity. The freezing fist condensed in an instant and hit Heracross in the face, knocking it back. Because the ice was very slippery, Heracross fell again. Blastoise's water cannon arrived again, and shot it down again. Sliding on the ice, from time to time, it made up an attack, and bombarded Heracross, who could not skate. Heracross, who had just taken off, was blasted down by Blastoise and fell on the ice. That's where the boss disappeared. A group of people appeared in the outer circle of the Xianlan forest, where Zhang Xingyun had teleported. A thin-pointed faced young man said respectfully to a middle-aged man with a face full of flesh and a short and fat body, "Brother, in my opinion, let's forget about it." A young man in a cyan combat uniform walked out of the crowd and said in a deep voice, "Trainers who can have quasi-god Pokémon are not ordinary people. Besides, he is also a power user and is not easy to deal with." The man who was called brother replied with a thoughtful look on his face and said nothing. "Brother, let's retreat." The cyan-clothed young man continued to persuade. "Alas, I wanted to, but the group I traded with is buying the shining metal monster at a high price. If I can get that shining metal monster, I can exchange it for resources for a Lakism to advance to the king level, and a Lakism can also break through the king level. By then, where can I go in the world?" The short and fat middle-aged man looked determined and did not want to give up this opportunity. "At most, we can change places and start over. Anyway, we live in the wild. This opportunities are rare and can never come back. He is a capable person. How can my Lakism just eat dry food?" In the end, the middle-aged man who was called the boss persuaded the young man, and then led everyone to find a place, set up some equipment, and ambushed. Seeing that Zhang Xingyun was coming from the direction of the city, there was a high probability that he would return to the magic city. If he stayed here, the probability of squatting would be higher. The leader of this group was named Zudebiro, a veteran quasi-king trainer. The main Pokémon Lakism was just a little short of the fire to break through to the king level. The young man in blue is called Zufizhang, and he is also a quasi-king level trainer. The other 8 are his brother's subordinates who were developed in the magic city. The brothers are wanted criminals who have committed many crimes. They usually hide in the wild and dare not go into the city. They developed a group of people with bad intentions and started the business of murder and robbery. Several subordinates squatted near the outer circle. When they saw the right person, they called all the people to follow quietly and carry out robbery and other behaviors. If they heard a little wind, they would flee far away to the wild. They are usually vigilant and have never had any major incidents. Besides, in such a big magic city, there are a huge number of trainers who come to the wild to hunt every day. It is normal for a few people to die in the wild. They have not robbed and killed people with abilities before. In general, they are still sure, especially when they see the 2 bosses attacking together. They have a better idea in their hearts. Zhang Xingyun filled another bottle of tree sap, which is Heracross's favorite drink. For insect-type elves, it is also a rare treasure. The sap from the tree that belonged to the quasi-king level Heracross was even more valuable. Zhang Xingyun mainly packed the sap from this tree and was too lazy to get the sap from other trees. In his eyes, only the sap secreted by this tree was of some value. Chapter 390, Collecting Resources. The sap can also be used to make insect energy blocks, and the effect is quite good, especially the higher the quality of the sap, the better the energy blocks made. After collecting everything on the original Heracross territory, Zhang Xingyun took 3 elves and continued to look for opponents and collect resources. The tribe that was stared at by Shakiras was naturally unlucky. Some escaped, some were arrested, and even the treasures accumulated by the tribe were looted by Zhang Xingyun. Zhang Xingyun naturally would not feel sorry for them. If his strength was not enough, he would have been their food now. In the wild, kind elves are still rare. Being too kind will not live long, unless it is caused by some other factors. He collected the few beautiful flowers that fell on the ground and began to happily collect. After searching for a few times, he got 4 high-level leaf stones and some other high-level treasures. It is worthy of being a tribe that can cultivate qua-seeking level people. It has quite a lot of resources, but now they are all his. At this moment, Zhang Xingyun and the 3 elves had already gone deep into the Xianlan forest. The elves that could be seen everywhere were all elites and qua-seekings. There were fewer qua-seeking elves, and it was difficult to see traces of human activities. Trainers at the level of qua-seekings could choose many careers. As long as they could pass the political review, they could be civil servants in the Magic City, which was very pleasant. They did not want to risk their lives to hunt in the wild, exposed to the sun and rain. So many high-level trainers chose to be civil servants and have a stable life. Of course, this was the choice of some high-level trainers, not all trainers. There were also many trainers who yearned to explore the wild, which was adventurous and exciting. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. Shakiras, come back. It's estimated that most of the next ones will be qua-seekings, so let the electric beasts come. Shakiras and the other 3 did not refuse. They had fought several battles, so they obediently returned to the elf bowl and let the electric beasts fight. Hey boo, the Electabuzz, which had just come out of the Pokeball, shouted a few times excitedly, observing the movements around. It was very bored staying in the Pokeball, and now it was finally its turn to appear. Be careful, there are many qua-seeking Pokémon here, don't be careless. Zhang Xingyun warned. Hey boo, Electabuzz calmed down and nodded. Nidoking and Claws stood beside him, watching the surroundings with vigilant eyes. After going deeper for more than 10 kilometers, they also encountered attacks from several Pokémons, some of which were elites and some were qua-seekings. This place is very close to the inner circle of the Xianlan forest, and there are many resources to be obtained. However, under the hands of Nidoking and his men, they were naturally captured in the first time, and they didn't even have time to escape. Go, qua-seekings Beedrill swarm, there must be a lot of good things inside. Zhang Xingyun pointed at the group of Beedrills in front of him and said coldly. This group of giant hornets covers a very large area, and a large area around it is the territory of this group. At a glance, every big tree in this area is hung with many metal pupae, and a few unicorns jump out from time to time. Such a large number requires a huge amount of resources. As soon as Zhang Xingyun set foot on their territory, he was attacked by a patrol team of giant hornets, and was naturally killed in the end. The noise made was not noticed, and groups of giant hornets flew over. As a result, many giant hornets collapsed on the ground were proof. Buzz buzz buzz, 3 powerful energy waves moved quickly, and several breaking sounds were heard, and 3 qua-seeking giant hornets rushed to the scene. The disappearance of the tribe members made them realize that something was wrong, so they hurried over. Nidoking smiled grimly, stomped his feet slightly, and with a bang, dense stones broke through the air. Bang, 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 the rocks were all blocked by the Beedrills. When the smoke and dust cleared, what came into their eyes was a fist shining with lightning. Bang, 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 the electric shock monster threw 3 punches in a row, making several explosions. Hiss, the 3 Beedrills counter-attacked together, using 2 shots to meet the electric shock monster, and 1 used high-speed movement to face the Pidgeot flying in the sky. Hiss, at this moment, 3 more Beedrills rushed out from the Beedrills tribe. They were all qua-seeking level Pokémons. One of them had extremely powerful energy fluctuations on its body, and its momentum was much stronger than its companions. It was a qua-seeking level Beedrill. Hassan the giant claw mantis beside Zhang Xingyun whispered when he noticed that the qua-seeking level B drill was originally. Go ahead. You rarely attack normally, so this is a good opportunity to test your strength. Hassan mantis nodded slightly, and its figure flashed, turning into a red lightning, and it went up against the qua-seeking mid-stage B drill. His Hassan mantis and B drill faced each other, and in this instant, they exchanged a few moves, and both took a few steps back. The next moment, the two appeared in another position in the air and fought again. Mantis's alloy claws and B drill's double guns emitted faint sparks when they collided with each other. The next moment, both sides used billion impact together and collided again. His B drill crashed into a tree that was as big as 7 or 8 people hugging it with a snap. In this impact duel, it was no match for Mantis. Swish when B drill crashed into the tree, Mantis's destructive death ray arrived. At the critical moment, B drill moved at high speed, narrowly avoiding the destruction ray, and flew to the other side. Nidoking pressed a B drill to the ground and hit it with the power of the earth. The B drill made a whistling sound and then stopped moving. It was unknown whether it was alive or dead. Next to Nidoking, there were 2 B drills, both of which were qua-seeking level 1. After knocking down the 2 B drills, Nidoking did not continue. He left the rest to the electric monsters and retreated to Zhang Xingyun's side, watching the battle on the field. Charizard was also very powerful. As its dragon claws swung, B drills fell from time to time. Although there were some elite level Pokémon, they could see how powerful Charizard was. Boom, a figure fell to the ground, and the giant claw mantis appeared afterwards. The falling figure was the giant B drill that was fighting with it, and it was immediately defeated by the giant claw mantis. Hassan, after spending some time, the giant mantis successfully took down the giant B drill of the same level. Chapter 391 Return and Attack. It took more than an hour to eliminate the top combat power of this tribe. Looking at the fleeing giant bees, Zhang Xingyun did not continue to attack, but went straight to the place where supplies were stored and packed up. All the elves were released, and the surrounding area was on alert. The noise of the battle also attracted many elves to the scene, but under the shock of Nidoking and others, they hid aside and watched quietly. Under the feet of Nidoking and others, there were also several elf corpses lying, all of which were the ones who rushed up first. Zhang Xingyun raised his hand and threw out several hornworms in the tree hole. After sorting out the things inside, he put them into the space. There were also several metal pupae next to him, glaring at him, and their bodies trembled constantly. Haha. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun just laughed and continued to pack up valuable treasures. The high-end combat power was wiped out by him, and the remaining ones, in this environment, would probably not survive for long. Looking at the elves looking around, they should have had a lot of problems with the giant bees. With B drill's personality, will it get along well with the elves around it? It's impossible. A few shots are possible, otherwise B drill wouldn't have become the tyrant of the forest. Once he left, the only fate of these remaining hornworms and metal pupae would be death. There was no need to waste energy on these dying elves. It took half an hour to clean up most of the things. The space was full and Zhang Xingyun was satisfied. He said hello and left the area with a few elves. As soon as Zhang Xingyun left, the elves who were peeping around rushed over, and the remaining hornworms and metal pupae scattered and became food for those peepers. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun had just walked for a while when he met another tribe, the tribe of hazelnut balls, among which there were several Foritus. Judging from the energy fluctuations on their bodies, they were qua-seeking level elves. Zhang Xingyun was naturally not interested in this group. No one would be interested in a group of elves that exploded at any time and had few resources, so he took a detour to avoid this place. It's still better to have a group of giant beepers. They are everywhere. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Elves like giant beepers can be found wherever there are forests. Their wide distribution and large number are unimaginable. Therefore, the group that Zhang Xingyun encountered today had so many qua-seeking giant beepers on a huge base. And because of their strong sense of territory and brutal personality, giant beepers are a great threat to some novice trainers, and are also known as one of the novice killer elves. After getting rid of the group of giant beepers, it was more than 6 o'clock in the evening. Zhang Xingyun did not plan to return to the city of Magic City that day. Before the sun set, He walked out for more than 10 kilometers and found a suitable place to rest. After a few tidying up, a temporary residence was completed. From the map, this place belongs to the elite area, mostly elite level elves, which is also Zhang Xingyun's choice. Resting here, if you are attacked by elves late at night, most of the elves you encounter are elite level elves, and it is easy to clean up. If you are in the inner area, you are likely to encounter qua-seeking level elves, which is still very troublesome to clean up. Anyway, it is a temporary resting place, so it is better to choose the outer circle, which is easier. In the temporary camp, in a cave, Zhang Xingyun was eating, and Nidoking and others beside him were not eating either. Today is a good harvest. Tomorrow, when we return to the city, we can sell the unused batches, which will be another large sum of money, and we can also pay off the loan. Several electric shock monsters, eating honey with their hands full, muttered, "The honey brewed by the qua-seeking level is delicious." Hassan the giant claw mantis also drank the tree sap collected during the day, and it also drank with relish. After eating, the elves who were arranged to keep watch sat aside to regulate their breathing and get enough energy. Zudebeo and others who were ambushing far outside the forest were still ambushing. Damn, why hasn't this guy come yet? Zudebeo cursed, holding a telescope in his hand and observing around. Is it possible that he took another route and went to another city? Zhang said. No, Dea found out that this guy bought a villa in the Magic City. He must have settled in the Magic City. Then let's continue to wait. I'll go down and tell the brothers. Well, you go and tell them to be mentally prepared. They may have to squat for a few days and nights. As long as I succeed this time, I will be promoted to the King of Heaven. Then I will take them to eat delicious food and drink spicy drinks. Zudebeo said carelessly, with a generous face. Okay. Zhang responded, and then came to a few subordinates, mentioned a few words to them, and promised a lot of benefits. He accepted and appeased several of them, and continued to squat here. Damn, you made me feed mosquitoes here. Tomorrow I will see how I kill you. Zudebeo cursed. After the elves came, mosquitoes still exist, especially in the wild, where there are many. There was no conversation overnight, and time soon came to the early morning of the next day. After breakfast, Zhang Xingyun took the elves and set off again, heading towards the direction of the Magic City. Along the way, of course, he was not idle, and he also let the elves fight all the way, and got some good things. In this lawless wilderness, some treasures belong to the strong. Compared with trainers, there may be some differences, that is, people have quality and cultivation, but some people don't. Riding on Charizard, with Ghastly and Metal Monster by his side, flying above the jungle, looking at the lush forest below, Zhang Xingyun was in a good mood. This was another successful hunt. The elves also grew up, and he also got a lot of gains. Gas, you are about to evolve. You have to hone your strength during this period, and lay a good foundation. Hiss after the battle yesterday, and in the morning, Ghastly's momentum has changed slightly, becoming more murderous. Something's going on, be on guard. The spiritual power he released detected something unusual, and a group of people looked at him with ill intentions, with several instruments on their bodies. Zhang Xingyun also realized that this person was not a good person. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. As soon as he flew into a dense forest, several sounds of breaking through the air were heard, and dense poison needles were fired at him. Ha ha ha. 7 or 8 flying elves flew towards him behind the poison needles, and the ground also squirmed a few times, and many elves appeared one after another. Rhyton, Onyx, Abilene. They all used their attacking moves, and attacked Charizard in the sky. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392. The melee begins. Boom. Multiple skills collided in the air, making an explosion sound, making a huge noise. At the critical moment, Zhang Xingyun used teleportation to take Charizard and the others to the other side and avoid this wave of attacks. Pa pa pa. Applause rang out, and Zudebeo and Aralakazam suddenly appeared on the side, clapping their hands. As expected of a capable person, your reaction is fast. Zudebio said with a fake smile. What? Are you trying to rob and kill me? Zhang Xingyun said with a cold face. You can't say that. It's just that I'm short of a shiny metal monster these days, so I'm borrowing it from you, my friend. Zudebio said, and his hands kept moving, not knowing what he was fiddling with. Zhang Xingyun snorted coldly, teleported, and disappeared from the spot again. Alakazam, don't let him run away. The next moment, Zhang Xingyun appeared 100 meters away, also due to the interference of Alakazam, otherwise his teleportation would not be able to teleport only this distance. Don't go, my friend. Zhang Xingyun snorted coldly, put away the Charizard and the others, and teleported away. It was still unclear what was going on, so out of his usual caution, it was better to leave first. He was stopped by so many people in the direction of the Magic City, so he ran towards the wild. Zudebio followed him from a distance, and there was nothing else to do except to let Alakazam disturb him. After a few chases, the original elite level elves could not keep up with him. Only 2 people were hanging far behind him, a middle-aged man with Alakazam, and a young man riding on a king swallow. Alakazam in the late stage of the Quasi King, and the king swallow in the early stage. After arriving at a place, Zhang Xingyun stopped and looked back. Run, why don't you run? The next moment, Zudebio and Alakazam appeared behind him, looking at him teasingly. He let Zhang Xingyun run, and also consumed his supernatural powers, and weakened him as much as possible. Anyway, he had Alakazam with him, so he was not afraid that he would run away. Who are you? Team Rocket? Zhang Xingyun asked. The Pokeball on his belt swayed slightly, and Nidoking and the others appeared on the field, looking at Zudebio on the opposite side with a vigilant look. Hey, I'll tell you after you die. Then, 2 early stage Quasi King Arbok, a mid stage Quasi King Armorbird, and a mid stage Quasi King Infernape appeared on the field, as well as several elite level Pokémon, including Alakazam next to him. There are 5 Quasi King level Pokémon, and their strength should not be underestimated. Zhang Xingyun also became serious. His face was very solemn. Last time, with the help of Captain Lin Jianzhong, he successfully killed Viper in a desperate battle with himself. Now he is stronger, but facing the man in front of him, he is stronger than Viper at that time. The young man riding on the back of the Great King Swallow also rushed to the scene at this time, and threw out 2 Pokeballs. A Smear Moth and a Tortoise appeared on the field, as well as 3 elite level Pokémon. Including the Great King Swallow, there are a total of 3 Quasi King level Pokémon. Together with the middle-aged man, there are 8 Quasi King Elves. With this level of Linoop, even if they encounter some King Elves, they can still fight back. On Zhang Xingyun's side, only Nidoking and Giant Claw Mantis have advanced to Quasi King, but in terms of combat power, Electabuzz, Blastoise, Pidgeot, and Lady Huaji can also be equivalent to the combat power of 4 Quasi Kings. On the surface, Zhang Xingyun still lost. This kid can actually cultivate so many elves, and they are really rare elves. It seems that he has cultivated them very well. Hahaha, we are rich now. As long as we capture this kid, we will be rich. Seeing the look of Nidoking and others, the greed in Zudebio's eyes became more intense. Zufizhang on the side also had fiery eyes, staring straight at Shakiras and others. Brother, we should be careful. Don't rush. We need to take it slowly. Anyway, this kid can't run away. Zufizhang said. Hahaha, of course. Seeing Zhang Xingyun's Linoop, the 2 brothers were relieved. With only 2 Quasi Kings, they could not be their opponents. No matter how well they cultivated the others, it would not be of much use. At most, 2 of them could be equivalent to the fighting power of a Quasi King. They were also stable. But the next moment, a scene that surprised them happened. Spirit attachment technique. Zhang Xingyun made a mysterious gesture, and the momentum of the elves suddenly increased a lot. The electric shock monsters, that were originally at the elite level directly reached the Quasi King level. This kid has something. Looking at the several elves after the amplification, the 2 of them also looked serious. Brother, we still have an advantage. With more people against fewer, the chances of winning are not small. Yeah. The 2 of them let the elves attack and meet Nidoking and the others. Boom, the gorgeous skills met in the air, and the roar continued. The area turned into a ruin in an instant. The earth and rocks collapsed, sand and stones flew, and smoke and dust rolled. The strongest one, the giant claw, naturally faced the awakens on the opposite side, while Nidoking fought two Arbok alone. Pidgeot faced Armorbird, Blastoise faced Infernape, and Lady Huigi involved Squirtle and Tortoise, and Electabuzz had floated in the air and faced King Swallow. Shakiras and Charizard also faced their elite Pokémon. Of course, this was a melee, and the opponents could change at any time and place, and it was not static. Zhang Xingyun and the Zhu brothers stood on each side, commanding the Pokémon to fight. Looking at the two people on the opposite side, Zhang Xingyun frowned, guessing that the two people should have a trump card. Every trainer usually keeps a guard beside him to prevent being killed by a sneak attack, and the two people on the opposite side must have a trump card. Fuck Arbok's wail sounded on the field. At this moment, an Arbok was held down by Nidoking, and one frost punch after another was greeted to Arbok. Another Arbok wanted to rescue its companion, and used all its strength, but Nidoking remained motionless. Fuck Arbok's iron tail hit Nidoking with a crackling sound, breaking a layer of rock armor on Nidoking's body. Nidoking punched back the Arbok that attacked it, and swung it in the air like a leather rope. After a few punches, it threw it into the sky, and blasted a beam of destruction. Boom, the destruction beam hit Arbok right in the middle. After an explosion, Arbok fell to the ground with black smoke, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This Nidoking is too strong. He actually got rid of my Arbok in such a short time. Looking at the chaotic battlefield, where Arbok was killed by Nidoking, Zudabio said in surprise. Chapter 393 Super Evolution Attack. The two brothers were full of confidence, but what happened on the field gradually hit their confidence. After Nidoking, other Pokémon also suppressed their opponents. In the sky, Pidgeot and Armorbird were fighting fiercely. Pidgeot seemed to be at ease against the mid-stage Quasi-King Armorbird. Relying on its own speed, it made Armorbird dizzy. Armorbird's speed could not keep up with Pidgeot. Although its strength was stronger than Pidgeot, in terms of combat power, Pidgeot was not much worse. Of course, in this melee, the opponent would not change. Under the command of Zudabio, Armorbird cooperated with Arbok on the ground to attack Nidoking. Pidgeot also swooped down and joined forces with Nidoking to deal with Armorbird and Arbok. On the other side, Mantis easily shattered the transparent light wall around it with its fists and broke free from Alakazam's restraints. It went to kill alone, but was dodged by Alakazam's instant movement and could not attack it. Zhang Xingyun also observed this scene and helped Mantis, teleporting it a few times to get it close to Alakazam. With the help, Mantis also followed Alakazam and launched an effective attack. Big brother, this is not good. This trick is hard to use. The battle on the field made Zufizhang frown. How about we take out the last trump card? We can't drag it on. Okay. Zudabio immediately made a decision and took out a Pokémon from his belt and threw it out. A late-stage Quasi-King Kuma appeared on the field. Go Kuma. Cuba Swampert, you go too. Chamo Zufizhang released a mid-stage Quasi-King Kuma, and the two Pokémon went forward together and joined the battle. Nidoking stepped on the ground, and a yellow ground-type energy hit Arbok. After adding a frost punch and killing Arbok, he saw Swampert and Kuma running over, so he killed them himself. Heibu, the electric monster on the side, hit the King Swallow with a thunderbolt, repelling it. After notifying Pidgeot, it also jumped up and faced the two attacking Pokémon with Nidoking. The addition of the two Pokémon made Nidoking and his team more and more exhausted. The moth found an opportunity, pulled out, and attacked the battlefield on the side of Kabutosaurus. Charizard in one place flapped its wings and met the attacking moth. With the attribute restraint, it intercepted the moth. Bang, Nidoking flew back and knocked down several trees before stopping. The circle bear, who was fighting with it, also took several steps back. Nido, the two sides stood in their respective positions, accumulated strength, and launched the destruction death ray together. Buzz, the two destruction death rays met in the air, stirring up waves of air. Infernape and Blastoise, who were fighting not far from the meeting point, were also affected and retreated one after another. Nidocuba, neither of them gave in, and the two destructive death rays were also in a stalemate in the middle. The life orb on Nidoking also lit up faintly, increasing the output. Kumamoto naturally would not give in, and also increased the output. A king swallow who was entangled by Pidgeot saw this scene and quickly flew towards Nidoking with a swallow, trying to sneak attack. Pidgeot hurried forward to stop it, but Armored Bird would not miss the opportunity and interfered with Pidgeot. Alakazam, who was in a stalemate with Mantis, also broke out and repelled Mantis to prevent it from supporting Nidoking. Damn it, Super Evolution. Mantis on. Seeing the situation like this, Zhang Xingyun directly took out the Mega Evolution Stone, activated the Mega Evolution, and at the same time, teleported Mantis over. A colorful light flashed, and the Giant Claw Mantis super evolved. With a whoosh, the Super Giant Claw Mantis appeared above the King Swallow, and a cross scissors slashed across, hitting the King Swallow's back. The King Swallow screamed, and fell to the ground, losing consciousness. What the hell, why did the Giant Claw Mantis evolve again? The two brothers Zudabio were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out. The evolution of the Giant Claw Mantis shocked them, and they couldn't recover for a long time. Do you want to know why? Go to hell and ask. Zhang Xingyun flashed and came behind the two people. He raised his hand and waved it. 18 types of weapons appeared behind him. The weapons were all condensed objects of energy and smashed at the two people. This was a life and death battle. Zhang Xingyun would not be pedantic. As long as he killed these two people, the elves on the field would lose at least half of their combat effectiveness. Alakazam, save me! Zudabio exclaimed. Alakazam's eyes lit up, but the attack of the Super Giant Claw Mantis also arrived. Boom! Alakazam teleported the two away in time, and it was also severely injured by Mega Mantis. At this moment, Mega Mantis's strength is naturally at the peak level of Quasi-King, so it will not be much worse this time. Alakazam, who was severely injured, teleported several times in a row and distanced himself from Mega Mantis. Boss, we are here. During the battle, the men of the Zoo brothers also rushed to the scene, protected the two, and sent out elves one after another. All of a sudden, more than 30 elves appeared in this area, with different strengths. Okay, since you are here, don't leave. Zhang Xingyun snorted coldly, took out a few pills, swallowed them, and instantly his momentum increased step by step. Then he took out the Mega Evolution Stones of Blastoise and others. Super Evolution. Suddenly, bursts of brilliant light appeared on the field, and Blastoise and Charizard all underwent Mega Evolution. In an instant, the Mega Evolution was completed, and after being amplified by the Mega Evolution, their strength was further improved. This, Charizard can evolve. Oh my god. There were exclamations from the crowd, and everyone was shocked by Charizard's evolution. Guys, attack with all your strength, kill them. Don't leave any of them alive, and don't let them escape, especially humans. Zhang Xingyun said coldly, and he moved instantly, leading the Giant Claw Mantis to kill Alakazam first. Pidgeot flapped its wings and flew, dragging its long and gorgeous feathers, and caught the Armored Bird. After a few flips, the Armored Bird fell to the ground. Then, the rich flying energy was concentrated on his body, and a Brave Bird was formed, rushing down. Boom! Pidgeot's Brave Bird hit a huge pit more than 10 meters deep on the ground. Pidgeot flew out of the pit and went to the crowd. Kami after Mega Blastoise received the amplification of Super Evolution, it also successfully solved its team receiving Infernape. The two cannons were raised, and 2 waves of Dragon Waves bombarded the crowd, arriving before Pidgeot. Boom boom boom, a loud explosion sounded in the crowd. Pidgeot rushed into the smoke and rushed forward. Chapter 394 Huge Harvest. Boom boom boom, a wailing sound rang out in the smoke. Keep going. Zhang Xingyun said coldly, with Alakazam's body lying at his feet. During this time, Alakazam had been killed by him, and the Giant Claw Mantis. Kami after hearing the order, Blastoise attacked the smoke again after Pidgeot took off. Boom boom boom, Pidgeot after each attack, Pidgeot pounced, and each attack took away several Pokémon and people. Amid the screams, Pidgeot took off again, with its claws filled with blood. In Zhang Xingyun's perception, more than half of the group of people were dead or injured. There were only a few elite level Pokémons protecting them, but they couldn't protect them at all, and their Quasi-King Pokémons were dragged by Nidoking and his men. Stop, brothers, let's talk it over. Zudabio's shout came from the smoke. Keep going, don't leave any alive. Zhang Xingyun remained unmoved and continued to issue orders. At this point, everything he said was meaningless. Alakazam was dealt with, and the giant claw mantis was also released to support Nidoking and the others. In the contest between Nidoking and Kuznetsova, Nidoking was at a disadvantage. When the giant claw mantis arrived, the situation changed. Brother, we've hit a wall. Zhang, who had broken an arm, half crouched on the ground, and said to Zudebio. Zudebio, who was standing aside, was also covered in blood, which was the blood of the people and elves around him. In the previous attack, he barely saved himself with the remaining elite Rident. Pidgeot's attack came again, stretching out to sharp claws, and clawing at them. Falling into the crowd, Pidgeot also used steel wings to chop horizontally and vertically. The elves and people it attacked were lying in a pool of blood, and it was unknown whether they were alive or dead. After succeeding, Pidgeot flapped his wings again, this time taking away several more elves and people. The next moment, Blastoise attacked again. Boom 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 Alakazam. Alakazam, come and save me, and you too, Kuzoku, come quickly. Zudebio exclaimed, his face full of fear. If he continued like this, he would die here, just like the men who fell here. After these attacks, there were only 4 people standing in the team of more than 10 people on the field, and Zudebio and his brother were among them. The dead people, with elves lying beside them, fell in a pool of blood. Alakazam, it can't support you because it's dead, but soon, you will be the same as it, don't worry. A gloomy voice appeared out of nowhere behind the 4 people, and their eyes widened, and their hair stood on end. Meow hiss. The Pokémons around the 4 people were loyal. When they saw Zhang Xingyun behind them, they rushed over to protect their trainer. Unfortunately, with their elite strength, they were all seriously injured in the previous attacks. Under the hands of Mega Blastoise and Mega Pidgeot, they naturally couldn't survive 2 moves, and collapsed to the ground, without a breath. Brother, you. Zudebio was about to speak, and a line of blood immediately appeared in his throat. He couldn't say the words that were choked in his throat. He fell down with a few whistles, and his eyes dimmed. The 3 people next to him just made some moves, and their bodies suddenly stopped, and fell to the ground. Zhang still held a small dagger in his hand. Looking at the 4 people in front of him falling to the ground, and losing their lives, Zhang Xingyun turned his head, and looked at the pit beside him. There were still a few people alive in the pit, still groaning in pain. Pidgeot flashed, and came to the pit. With his knife, the few people who were groaning in pain died and turned into corpses. Then he killed the unconscious Pokémons, and Zhang Xingyun looked at the field. The battle on the field was also in a state of collapse, and it was impossible to escape. After Blastoise and Pidgeot joined, a few minutes later, there were no living Pokémons on the field except Nidoking. Zhang Xingyun quickly cleaned up the field, cremated the corpses, and smoothed out the bumpy field. Then he moved away from here in an instant. After Zhang Xingyun left for a while, several teams arrived, observed for a few times, and left. In a hidden cave, Zhang Xingyun sorted out the space backpack on his body. There were as many as 11 space backpacks, and the cave was filled with precious items. This was just Zudebio's backpack. So this group of people are the legendary hunters, the shiny metal monsters, the cultivation resources of the king level. No wonder. Looking at a notebook in Zudebio's space, Zhang Xingyun suddenly realized. In addition to this notebook, there is also a computer and several mobile phones. Zhang Xingyun also became interested, and typed in the password written in the notebook, and immediately unlocked the computer. This Zudebio probably has a bad memory and actually noted the password in the notebook. Who would do this in this era? The login account and password entered were actually correct. Zhang Xingyun clicked on an unknown website and clicked My, and the task of collecting shiny metal monsters was immediately displayed. Shiny metal monsters. Zhang Xingyun touched his nose, and showed a thoughtful expression on his face. After browsing the website, Zhang Xingyun found that this website was unexpectedly large, and the transactions inside were even more varied. There were all kinds of transactions, and there were also many high-level resources. Some people are specializing in issuing tasks. The items and elves required by the task do not ask where they come from, as long as they can be handed over to them. Now, Zhang Xingyun suddenly had an idea, that is, can he get a shiny metal monster there through trading? Then he checked the offline base, and it was actually in the Xingyun building in the Magic City. It seems that this website has a great background. The trading place is set up in the city. In this case, I have to find a time to go there. Zhang Xingyun pondered in his heart. Then, according to the method shown on the website, Zhang Xingyun registered a user for himself. In the future, he can also log into this website. A lot of information in it is still useful. Put the things away, then take out other people's space backpacks and organize them. Nidoking and others are resting on the side, with medicine applied on their bodies. After more than an hour of sorting, these space backpacks were finally sorted out. Hahaha, I'm rich. It's true that a horse can't get fat without night grass, and a person can't get rich without external wealth. Zhang Xingyun looked at the backpack in front of him and laughed. This time, Zhang Xingyun estimated that, after selling these useless things, he would have an income of at least 700 million elf coins, and there were still many treasures that he could use. Chapter 395 Sale. At about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Zhang Xingyun returned to his villa in the Demon City. After putting his things away, he left the giant mantises to guard the house, and took some of the supplies to a store to sell. Welcome, sir. What do you need to buy? After entering the store, a pretty female clerk wearing a decent work uniform came up and greeted him. I have a batch of supplies to sell to your store, and the transaction amount is about 80 million. Can you make the decision? Zhang Xingyun looked directly at the female clerk and asked. Please sit here first. I will call our store manager. Please wait. The female clerk put on a decent smile and said with a smile, yes. After arranging Zhang Xingyun to sit on the reception sofa inside, the female clerk withdrew, and soon a middle-aged man came over. Hello. I'm the store manager of this store. My surname is ZHU. ZHU Lun said enthusiastically. Hello, Manager ZHU. Zhang Xingyun stood up and shook hands with ZHU Lun. Sit down. I heard from our clerk that you have a deal of more than 80 million to trade with us. Can you tell me what it is specifically? ZHU Lun asked after sitting down. Well, it's these. The things are all in the backpack. You can estimate them. Zhang Xingyun handed over two space backpacks and said lightly. After ZHU Lun took it, he looked at it for a few times, called a few employees, and counted the things. He sat back in his original position, made some fragrant tea, and chatted with Zhang Xingyun. As a store manager, he was naturally good at speaking, and it was pleasant to chat with Zhang Xingyun. While counting the materials, the two chatted. Manager, this is the list. After a while, an employee handed a list to ZHU Lun and retreated. Hahaha, Mr. Zhang, you underestimated it. The offer I gave here is more than 89 million. I'm in charge. Let's count it as 90 million. After saying that, he handed the list to Zhang Xingyun. Don't worry, Mr. Zhang. Our store is honest and fair, and the price we offer is absolutely fair. ZHU Lun explained that he would try his best to retain such a big customer. Well, the quotation is okay. Zhang Xingyun nodded. He was quite satisfied with the quotation on the list, which was higher than his estimate. Then, of course, the money and goods were settled. Both parties were very satisfied. They chatted and drank tea together. After sitting for a while, Zhang Xingyun said goodbye and left. ZHU Lun sent him outside the store with a very enthusiastic attitude. Afterwards, Zhang Xingyun went home to get another batch, and went to several other stores to sell. He felt that it was not as good as ZHU Lun's store. After selling all the things, the balance on Zhang Xingyun's card was 800 million more, 100 million more than he estimated. There was still a part that could be used that had not been sold. After receiving this huge sum of money, Zhang Xingyun came to the Wanlong Pavilion in the city center, ordered a lot of food, and celebrated with the elves. Kai through the window, Zhang Xingyun was in a good mood as he watched the Kixie Blue Bat dancing in the center field. This outing was a great success, with a harvest of about 1 billion. Thanks to everyone's efforts this time, we were able to successfully counterattack and gain this harvest. Come on, everyone, cheers, order whatever you want. The waiters in Wanlong Pavilion are not just people, there are elves acting as waiters, and there are also many superpowered elves, who are almost on call, and the efficiency of serving is extremely high. Hey boo, the electric shock monster ordered several dishes in a row, and then the water turtles also ordered their own dishes. After a while, a puff pig brought the ordered food over, and the electric shock monsters began to eat heartily. One plate after another, a large pile of plates soon piled up. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xingyun's appetite was also opened, and he started to eat. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Xingyun slowly walked out of the Wanlong Pavilion, and got on the car arranged by the Wanlong Pavilion, and returned to the villa. After returning to the villa, the elves all came out of the elf balls, and lay on the ground, all full. Buzz. As soon as he lay down, the mobile phone beside him vibrated. Hello. Xingyun, what are you doing? Why can't I get through to you today? Nangang Yao's voice came from the phone. In order to pay off the mortgage, I went hunting in the Xianlan forest today. Oh, yes, you also bought a villa in the Magic City. Congratulations. You have a place to live, right? If not, come to my place. I will take you in, and it won't be counted as your rent. Ha ha ha. Zhang Xingyun joked. Ha ha ha. Nangang Yao also laughed on the other end of the phone. Nangang, do you know the website Wanwatang? Zhang Xingyun asked, when they were almost done chatting. I know. Wanwatang is a special website that is active in cities in the southeast of our China. How did you know this website? Nangang Yao asked back. It's like this, my outing this time. Zhang Xingyun briefly told about the robbery and murder by Zhu Daibao today, hiding the super evolution. I see, you have to be more careful in the future. I know, and then I want to buy a flash metal monster here. Nangang, do you have any suggestions? Zhang Xingyun asked. Nangang Yao must know more about this than him, and it is better to listen to her advice than to explore on his own. Flash metal monster? This is not easy to deal with. Let's do this. I will also go to the Magic City on the 5th, and then I will go with you. Okay. Well, after chatting for a while, he hung up the phone. Zhang Xingyun got up and went to the bathroom to take a shower. When he came back with his head wiped, his phone beeped a few times. He opened it and saw that it was a friend application message. The message showed that it was sent by a senior brother Yang who claimed to be an assistant class. Assistant class? I thought there was no one. Zhang Xingyun clicked to agree and then communicated with the assistant class Yang Bo. After checking the information, he was pulled into a group called Magic City University Superpower Class 1. Class 1 of Superpowers, will Nangang Yao be here? He flipped over and saw Nangang Yao's avatar on it. At the same time, Nangang Yao's WeChat message came, and after a few words, he started a group chat. The group was very lively. After a while, there were 99 plus messages, and it can be seen that they are very active. Everyone, stop for a moment. Let me introduce myself. I'm your assistant classmate Yang Bo. If you have any questions, you can ask me. By the way, you don't have to call me teacher. I'm a senior in the 4th grade of Magic City University, so just call me senior brother. Afterwards, the group became lively again, asking a lot of questions, and it can be seen that they are looking forward to college life. Yang Bo gave answers to every question. Looking at the messages in the group, Zhang Xingyun thought of his previous life when he was in college, and those classmates also sent messages like this. Chapter 396 Wang Zuana. In a blink of an eye, time came to the 5th. At noon that day, Zhang Xingyun came to the Magic City airport and found a place to wait. He came to pick up Nangang Yao, who arrived in Magic City at this time. The environment of the airport was noisy, with people chattering and the sound of broadcast prompts. Zhang Xingyun was about to put on his headphones when his phone rang. Hey, I'm here at Gate D. Nangang Yao said on the other end. Okay, wait for me, and I'll be there soon. Yeah. After hanging up the phone, Zhang Xingyun squeezed into the crowd and followed the instructions on the sign. To Gate D. Turning a corner, he saw Nangang Yao leaning against the wall, playing with her phone. Nangang here. Zhang Xingyun shouted. Nangang Yao heard the voice and saw Zhang Xingyun and walked towards him. Haha, I haven't seen you for many days. I miss you so much, Nangang. Zhang Xingyun laughed. I almost believed it. Nangang Yao said with a smile. Here, milk tea, your favorite strawberry flavor. Zhang Xingyun took out a cup of pink milk tea from the space and handed it over. Thank you, my deskmate. Nangang Yeo took it and thanked him. Let's go. I've booked a restaurant to welcome you. Okay. Then the two walked out of the airport together and rushed to the booked restaurant. They talked and laughed along the way and soon arrived at the restaurant and had lunch. You said you wanted a shiny metal monster. How did you know that the website of all things has it? Nangang Yeo asked after eating a piece of steak. Zhang Xingyun didn't talk much about this on WeChat before. I guessed it by looking through the notes of that person. Of course, I just wanted to give it a try. After all, this shiny metal monster is hard to come by, but there is no way. You know, I cultivated a shiny metal monster. Zhang Xingyun explained that Nangang Yeo also knew that he cultivated a shiny metal monster. Then let's go in the afternoon. I'll go with you in the afternoon. Isn't this a bit rushed? You just arrived in the Magic City today. Do you want to rest? Zhang Xingyun suggested. No, don't forget that we are both capable people. That's right. Zhang Xingyun smiled. After finishing the meal, Zhang Xingyun paid the bill and walked out of the restaurant. Nangang Yeo took out a pink sports car from the space. Get in. Nangang Yeo sat in it and greeted. Wow, a sports car. He opened the door and got in. This one is similar to Yi Crossings. Sitting in the passenger seat, Zhang Xingyun looked around and commented. Mine is only 6 or 7 million more expensive than his. Sit tight. After saying that, the engine of the car roared, and with a whoosh, it drove into the street and headed towards the Xingyun building. Xingyun, have you applied for a driver's license? On the way, Nangang Yeo, who was driving, turned around and asked. Not yet. Zhang Xingyun shook his head. Why don't you go and apply for it? It's easy for us psychics to get a driver's license. You can go to the Psychic Association to get a certificate and then go to take the test. It only takes a few hours to go through the whole process and you don't have to take each subject one by one. Nangang Yeo continued. Then I'll find a time to take the test. Zhang Xingyun nodded and agreed. Yeah, so you can drive in the city, which is more convenient. That makes sense. Soon, the two came to the downstairs of the Xingyun building. Let's go. I have a relative here. She will take us there. It's more convenient. After putting the car into the space, Nangang Yeo said, took out her mobile phone, and dialed a number. The call was connected soon. Hello Zuana, I'm at the Xingyun building, and I'm downstairs now. Yeah. After hanging up the phone, he walked into the Xingyun building. You have acquaintances here. Zhang Xingyun was surprised. Well, she's my best friend. Her family is in this business, so it's right to come to her. Hahaha, Yeo, you're here. A stunning woman came over and gave Nangang Yeo a big hug. The woman's facial features were picturesque, with bright eyes, a cherry mouth and a beautiful nose. Her royal outfit set off her tall figure, making her even more attractive. Okay, let me introduce you. This is Zhang Xingyun, my deskmate in the 3rd year of high school. After the hug, Nangang Yeo pointed at Zhang Xingyun and introduced him. Nice to meet you. Zhang Xingyun smiled and greeted Wang Zuana. Hello, handsome guy. My name is Wang Zuana, Yeo's best friend. Wang Zuana replied. Okay, Zuana, we came here today just for the matter of the shiny metal monster. I know. Come to my office and sit for a while. I'll help you with it. It's alright. Wang Zuana patted her towering chest and said enthusiastically. Then, the two came to Wang Zuana's office. Would you like tea or coffee? Wang Zuana asked after the two sat down. Coffee. Either is fine. Okay. Wang Zuana picked up the phone and said a few words, then started chatting with Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo. Yeo, I've also been keeping an eye out for the shiny metal monster you mentioned. Take a look at this. Wang Zuana and Nangang Yeo squeezed together, looking at their phones. Hey, I remember you didn't breed metal monsters. Oh, it's what he needs. Wang Zuana glanced at Zhang Xingyun and said with a smile. Yes, he wants it. Nangang Yeo admitted. TSK, 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 this is rare. Okay, stop talking about business. Can we still do the metal monster thing? Nangang Yeo interrupted. Sure. Wang Zuana stopped laughing and said seriously. This is the information I found. You two can take a look. Wang Zuina swiped her phone a few times and put it in front of the two. The man who collects the shiny metal monsters is called Zhao. He is a 2nd level agent. I consulted him this morning and he has a shiny metal monster on hand now. Wang Zuina said on the side. Is there any way to buy this shiny metal monster from him? Nangang Yao asked. Of course there is. Leave it to me. Wang Zuina made an okay gesture. Dang dang dang, there was a knock on the door. After Wang Zuina responded, the door opened and a young man with a gentle appearance, a fair face, and a pair of gold-rimmed glasses walked in from outside, holding a Pokeball in his hand. Miss, the shiny metal monster you wanted. Zhao handed the Pokeball to Wang Zuina very respectfully. Well, thank you for your hard work. It's not hard. It's not hard. Miss, you can tell me anything. Zhao's attitude was very humble. If you have nothing to do, you can go down first. I will give you the reward later. Okay. Zhao looked up at Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao for a few times, said nothing, and retreated directly. He is the son of my family's housekeeper and is usually very respectful to me. Looking at the expressions of the two men, Wang Zuina explained. Chapter 397. The metal monster is in hand. Well, I said I did it right. Wang Zuina asked Nangang Yao for credit with a proud look on her face. Well, our Zuina is the best. Nangang Yao praised. Wang Zuina was very pleased to hear Nangang Yao's praise. It was rare for her best friend to come to her, so she naturally had to help her. Okay, then how many resources or elf coins does this metal monster need? Zuina, you tell me. You can't let it lose you. This. Wang Zuina looked at Zhang Xingyun and said, what price can you offer, handsome guy? I will offer whatever the original price of this metal monster is, and you can't let Miss Wang lose you. Zhang Xingyun immediately said that as for money, there were more than 800 million from the counter killing a few days ago. As for high-level resources, he also prepared them. He had prepared a considerable amount of energy value on the system, which was enough to exchange for a batch of high-level resources. Then how about this? For Yao's sake, you just give 300 million elf coins. Wang Zuina said calmly. Isn't this too low? Zhang Xingyun hesitated. 300 million elf coins are really not much to buy a shiny metal monster. It can be said to be an extremely low price. Zhang Xingyun knew that the shiny metal monster could be exchanged for a batch of high-level resources of the king level. Yes, Zuina, this 300 million elf coins is indeed too low. You can't let it be too bad. Nangang Yao looked at Zhang Xingyun and advised. Is that so, handsome boy? Do you have any high-level resources? After hearing Nangang Yao's words, Wang Zuina asked. Yes, I can take out some high-level energy blocks and some high-level participation, such as the top-grade leaf stone. Zhang Xingyun talked about what he had. Wow, I didn't expect that, handsome boy. Your family background is so rich. Nangang Yao also looked at Zhang Xingyun with surprise. She remembered that this classmate was not a child of aristocratic family, and there was no family behind him to provide resources. Fortunately, by chance a while ago, a batch of high-level energy blocks were successfully produced, and then I used these energy blocks to exchange for a lot of resources. Zhang Xingyun explained. Wow, I didn't expect that handsome guy can make advanced energy blocks. It's amazing. I can only make intermediate energy blocks now. Hearing that Zhang Xingyun can make advanced energy blocks, Wang Zuina said in surprise. Well, luck. So Miss Wang, the price of this metal monster is how much it should be, and I can't let you lose money. Zhang Xingyun said seriously. He thought it would be very troublesome, but he didn't expect that Nangang Yao's best friend would be so smooth after making a move. Naturally, he couldn't let her suffer too much. Then how about this? Wang Zuina thought about it and gave another price. In the end, with 250 million elf coins, she asked for some high-level resources casually and stuffed the elf ball into Zhang Xingyun. Okay, that's it. If you want to thank someone, thank Yao. Wang Zuina waved her hand. Thank you, Zuina. At this time, Nangang Yao also spoke, and Zhang Xingyun also thanked him, and this shining metal monster fell into his hands. They kept chatting for the next 3 days. Mainly Nangang Yao and Zhang Xingyun occasionally said a few words. They chatted until the evening, and the three of them went to a restaurant with elegant and luxurious decoration to have dinner. When they were about to finish, Wang Zuina received a call and left first, leaving Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao to continue eating. "Thank you for today's matter," Zhang Xingyun said very sincerely. If he went alone, it would definitely be more troublesome than today's situation, and the price he paid would be greater. "You're welcome. Why are you so polite?" Nangang Yao said with a smile, and then she thought of the Ghastly she gave last time, and spoke. "By the way, how is Ghastly's training? Ghastly, come out." Ghastly was released, and let Nangang Yao see it. As soon as Ghastly came out, he also knew that the human in front of him was a good friend of his trainer, and greeted him a few times in a friendly manner. "You've trained well, it's about to evolve." Nangang Yao took a look, and with her eyesight, she could naturally see the situation of Ghastly. "Yeah, it's almost there." Nangang Yao took out an incense burner, took out a silver white incense and lit it, and then inserted it into the incense burner. The burning incense gave off wisps of white smoke. Ghastly came over and enjoyed it with a look of enjoyment. This kind of incense is specially produced for ghost type elves, and you can tell from Ghastly's appearance. This kind of incense is called soul incense, which can provide life energy for ghost type elves, which is quite beneficial. Nangang Yao explained. "Oh, I see. I've seen it online, but I can't buy it. It's always out of stock. Hey, use these first. If you don't have enough, you can ask me for it." Nangang Yao handed over some soul incense. After Zhang Xingyun received it, he also took out a few boxes of energy cubes in return. "School is about to start. You have to be prepared. I heard that there will be a competition when we start freshman year, and the rewards are very generous. I also heard that it is related to the mythical beast Sukyun." Nangang Yao said slowly. "It's also about the mythical beast Sukyun?" "Yes, I guess that if you stand out in the competition, you should get the blessing of the mythical beast Sukyun." Nangang Yao guessed. "Then I must strive for the victory this time." "Ha ha ha," Zhang Xingyun said confidently. "Me too, of course. This is just my guess. I won't know the details until that day." "Yeah." After sitting for a while, Zhang Xingyun went to pay the bill. After paying the bill, Nangang Yao drove a sports car and sent Zhang Xingyun to the door of the villa, and then drove away. "Come out, metal monster." Walking into the house and coming to the training ground, Zhang Xingyun took out the metal monster's Pokémon and released the metal monster. Dang, a metal monster that was one size smaller than Zhang Xingyun's metal monster appeared in front of him. "Hello, metal monster. My name is Zhang Xingyun, and I will be your trainer from now on," Zhang Xingyun said to the metal monster seriously. Dang, the metal monster nodded slightly and looked at him quietly, looking a little listless. "Are you hungry?" Through telepathy, Zhang Xingyun communicated with the metal monster. Dang. Zhang Xingyun took out a batch of energy cubes from the space and placed them in front of it. The metal monster was not polite and started eating directly. Zhang Xingyun squatted beside and chatted with the metal monster. Under the influence of the affinity radiated by the supernatural power and the food, he slowly communicated with the metal monster. Zhang Xingyun also knew the past of the metal monster. The metal monster lived in a secret realm. After the secret realm came, he was captured. After several turns, he came to the magic city and evolved into a metal monster on the way. Zhang Xingyun comforted the metal monster for a few words and then let the metal monster out. As soon as the two metal monsters met, they started chatting with Dang Dang. Chapter 398, School Starts and Roommates. Days passed one by one, and soon it was September 8th. At about 8 o'clock in the morning, Nangang Yao drove to the outside of the villa and asked him to set off to Magic City University together. "Come, you drive." Nangang Yao walked out of the driver's seat, called Zhang Xingyun, and sat in the co-pilot seat. Zhang Xingyun was not polite and sat directly in the driver's seat, adjusted the seat, and drove the car. In the past few days, he went to the Magic City Superpower Association to handle the certificate and got his driver's license. The pink sports car merged into the traffic and rushed to Magic City University. "You have bought a villa, don't you plan to live on campus?" Nangang Yao asked in the car. "Living on campus is still necessary, and I can have a place to rest when I'm at school." Zhang Xingyun replied while driving. Yes, I think so too. Yeah. Soon, the two arrived at the gate of Magic City University. Nangang Yeo put the car back into the space, and the two walked into the gate of Magic City University. Compared to when Zhang Xingyun came a few days ago, red banners are hung on both sides of the road in Modu University, which means to welcome the arrival of new students. Seniors in red clothes can be seen everywhere, acting as volunteers to serve the freshmen. Thanks to the fact that elves ride bicycles now, most students have space backpacks. They seem to be empty-handed along the way, led by seniors, without carrying suitcases or anything. Xingyun, let's report to the assistant class first. Okay. The class group also said where to report. The two of them also had a map of Modu University in their hands. They walked through several streets according to the map, and saw the place mentioned in the class group. From a distance, they saw 3 people queuing up, and 2 people were registering on the computer in front of the booth. Zhang Xingyun also went over and asked, "Excuse me, is this the class of Superpowers 1? Yes, all students in the class of Superpowers 1 have to report here." One of the 2 women said, "He is your assistant classmate Yang Boyu. How come he hasn't posted any photos in the group?" Li Yinggren said with a smile, pointing at Yang Boyu who was standing beside him. No, I didn't post any photos in the class group. It's normal if you don't know me." Yang Boyu waved his hand and said, then turned to Zhang Xingyun and the others. "I'm Yang Boyu, the assistant classmate of the Superpower Class 1. You are Zhang Xingyun, right? Are you Nangang Yeo?" Although Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo had never posted any photos in the class group, assistant classmate Yang Boyu also had their information, which naturally had photos of the two. Yes. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo replied, and the 3 male students in the front row also turned their heads and took a few glances. "Hello, senior brother." Zhang Xingyun greeted. "Hahaha, hello to you too." Yang Boyu replied, and then introduced the woman sitting next to him. "This is Counselor Li Yinggren." "Hi, hello," Li Yinggren said with a smile. "Hello, teacher." The two shouted again. In the gap between talking, the 3 students in front had already completed the formalities, and it was Zhang Xingyun's turn. Taking out the admission letter and some other certificates, they placed them on the table. Yang Boyu operated the computer, and operated it for a few times, and then asked Zhang Xingyun to sign a name, and it was done. "Okay, you can go to the dormitory now. This is your dormitory number. Do you need me to take you there?" After processing, Yang Boyu handed each of them a card and asked, "No, we have a map and can find it ourselves. Senior brother, you are busy." After speaking, Zhang Xingyun left the booth and walked to the dormitory mentioned on the card. "My dormitory is in the West District, in the opposite direction of yours. I'll go there first," Nangang Yeo said, after looking at the information on the card. "Okay." After parting with Nangang Yeo, Zhang Xingyun came to his dormitory building. The dormitory building is very large, and each dormitory is like an apartment. There is also a training ground next to the dormitory building, which is convenient for students to train elves. 401, that should be on the 4th floor. Zhang Xingyun looked at the information on the card and muttered. Then he walked up the stairs, walked through the noisy floors, came to the 4th floor, and soon arrived at the door of 401. Beep beep put the card on the sensing area of the door, and after a few beeps, we saw it. After walking in, there were already 3 people sitting on the sofa in the living room chatting. As soon as he walked in, the 3 looked over. "Hello." Zhang Xingyun smiled and greeted. These 3 people will be his college roommates in the future. "Hello to you too." The 3 responded enthusiastically. "This room is mine, right?" "Yes," one of the tall people said. "Okay." He looked up, opened the door and walked in. He found that the room was not small, about 30 square meters, with a study table, a bed, and a wardrobe. After Zhang Xingyun tidied a few times, he walked out of the door and sat down in the living room. "The last brother in our dormitory has arrived. Let's introduce ourselves now. I'll go first. My name is Lan Yuchen. I'm from Ontario. My superpower is wave power. I'll give you my guidance in the next few years." Lan Yuchen is tall and has a simple face. He looks easy to get along with. Then I'll go to. My name is Pei Chenjun. I'm from the northwest. My superpower is superpower. Pachenjin is a thin fair-faced boy. He speaks very politely and has a very elegant temperament. My name is Zhang Xingyun. I'm a native of the Magic City. My superpower is also superpower. Please take care of me. Ha ha ha. Zhang Xingyun is a fat man. He always smiles when he speaks, and he seems very friendly. My name is Zhang Xingyun. I'm from Changning, South Vietnam province. My superpower is also superpower. Zhang Xingyun said, and briefly introduced himself. Ha ha ha, that's great. We all come from different places. Lan Yuchen laughed, and the four of them continued to chat. After chatting, Zhang Xingyun learned that Pachenjin and he were recommended students, and Zhang Xingyun and Lan Yuchen were admitted through examination. As they talked about their main Pokémon. As expected, Lan Yuchen's main Pokémon was a Lucario, with elite peak strength. Pachenjin's main Pokémon was a Banjara, in the early stage of the Qua-seeking. Zhang Xingyun's main Pokémon was an Alakazam, with elite peak strength. Zhang Xingyun also mentioned Nidoking, in the early stage of the Qua-seeking, and the three were slightly surprised. It seems that my roommates have a good family background. Zhang Xingyun thought to himself, and it can be seen from their main Pokémon. There is nothing to hide about this, and it will be shown in the next game. It's time, let's go out for dinner. Zhang Xingyun called, and the four of them naturally had no objection. They all got up and went to the school cafeteria, opened a private room and ate. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399 New Class. During the meal, Zhang Xingyun and Lan Yuchen were very talkative, throwing out many topics to chat about. Pachenjin and Zhang Xingyun seemed to be a little quiet. The four teenagers got to know each other better during this meal. I heard that, because of the gym this year, the school will require us to get at least 8 badges before graduation, in order to graduate successfully. Lan Yuchen put down his bowl and chopsticks, and talked about this. Yeah, this should be true. I also asked the assistant class privately, and it is true. It is newly added by the school today. Of course, this is for our class, and I don't know about other classes. Zhang Xingyun nodded and said, this shouldn't be difficult. Zhang Xingyun paused, thought for a while and said, their class is considered to be superpowers. Those who can enter this class basically have some elite peak strength. If they require 8 badges in these 4 years, in Zhang Xingyun's opinion, it is not very difficult. Ha ha ha, I don't think it's difficult. Lan Yuchen responded loudly, looking very relaxed and confident. Pachenjin and Zhang Xingyun smiled slightly, and they also looked confident. After eating, Lan Yuchen went to settle the bill privately, and the four of them walked back to the dormitory with laughter. Hey, look at the class group after work. The assistant classmate asked us to wait for him downstairs of the dormitory at 3 p.m. He said he wanted to introduce the classmates to the class. Lan Yuchen said, while looking at his phone, just after returning to the dormitory. The three of them also took out their phones and looked at them. There was a new message in the class group. That's great. By the way, we can see if there are any beauties in our class. Ha ha ha. Zhang Xingyun smiled. Ha ha ha, I think so too. Great minds think alike. Lan Yuchen also said with a smile. Zhang Xingyun also smiled and sat next to them, echoing the teenagers. Beautiful opposite 6 is a natural topic. During the chat, the time came to 3 o'clock. The four of them walked down the dormitory building together. When they arrived, there were already a few people waiting. Everyone greeted each other and knew that they were classmates in the same class, so they started chatting together. While chatting, other people gradually arrived. Soon, the assistant classmate Yang arrived, bringing about 10 people with him, and they set off together. Assistant classmate, where are we going? Lan Yuchen came forward and started chatting with Yang Boyu. We want to go to the classroom, and the girls in the class will also go there. We should introduce ourselves at that time, and then I will take you to visit the campus. Yang Boyu replied. Okay. A dozen people came to a teaching building together, and under the leadership of the assistant classmate Lan Yuchen, they walked into a spacious classroom. It was not said in the classroom that the girls in the class had not arrived yet. The four of them sat in a row and waited. After a while, footsteps and voices were heard outside, and a group of girls walked into the classroom led by Li Yingren. Zhang Xingyun also saw Nangang Yao and nodded slightly to her. Are all the boys in the class here? After letting the girls sit down, Li Yingren walked up to the podium and asked. Yes, they are all here. That's good. Hearing that everyone was here, Li Yingren fiddled with the microphone and started talking. Okay, students, welcome to Magic City University. I'm your counselor Li Yingren. Li Yingren introduced herself and then sent a line of numbers on the PPT. This is my mobile number. You can call me if you have anything. I called you here today to say a few words and let you get to know each other. You can come here and enter the superpower class, which has proved your strength. At present, our class is the strongest class, of course, for now. I don't know whether it will be the strongest in the future. No, our class must be the strongest. Yes, yes. These words rang out in the crowd below. Well, it's good that you have confidence. I also hope that you can always stay the strongest. Li Yingren encouraged on the podium. After a few more words, it was handed over to Yang Boy to host. Hello everyone, I don't need to introduce myself. Everyone knows each other. Yang Boy smiled a few times and then said, I don't have much to say. Next, let you introduce yourselves. Who goes first? Yang Boy looked around the classroom and gestured. It's okay, we are all classmates, don't be so shy. Yang Boy encouraged. Everyone is so shy, so let me introduce myself first. Lan Yuchen stood up and walked towards the podium. Okay, welcome everyone. Pa pa pa. Yang Boy gave his seat to Lan Yuchen and clapped his hands beside him. Hello everyone, my name is Lan Yuchen. I'm from Ontario. My superpower is the power of wave guidance. Usually, I like elf battles, swimming, basketball, etc. I live in dormitory 401. You can also come to play with me. Okay, I'll find you to have an elf battle when I have time. A tall boy shouted from below. Okay, welcome, welcome. After a few more words, Lan Yuchen walked down, and under Lan Yuchen's lead, everyone also stepped forward one by one and introduced themselves. Soon it was Zhang Xingyun's turn. My name is Zhang Xingyun. I'm from Changning City, Nanai Province. I have superpowers. I'm very happy to meet you all. Then he briefly introduced himself and walked down to the applause. As soon as he sat down, he heard Lan Yuchen and others discussing the girls in the class. There are many good-looking girls in our class, like Long Zirao, Nangang Yao and others. Kiam Xiuming whispered. Xingyun, what do you think? Kiam Xiuming poked Zhang Xingyun and asked in a low voice. I think so too. Zhang Xingyun replied. When they came in just now, Nangang Yao seemed to greet you. Do you know her? Lan Yuchen asked with curiosity on his face. She is my classmate in the third year of high school, so of course I know her. Zhang Xingyun told the truth. No wonder. Our class seems to have a 1:1 ratio of male to female. I thought it would be a monk class, but fortunately it is not. Kiam Xiuming patted his chest and said thankfully. At this time, the last student in the class had finished introducing himself. Yang Boy walked to the microphone and talked about the class cadres. Our class also needs to elect a few class cadres. Who is willing to be one? Zhang Xingyun was not very interested in class cadres, but Lan Yuchen next to him looked very interested. Not only Lan Yuchen, but several other students in the class also looked very interested and stepped forward to recommend themselves. Finally, after voting, the class cadres of the Special Ability Class 1 were freshly announced, and Lan Yuchen successfully became the monitor of this class. It may be because he was the first one to step forward to introduce himself, which made everyone have a good impression. P.S. I wish you all a happy New Year's Day. Chapter 400 Welfare. Hahaha, cheers. In the evening, in the 401 dormitory, the four people raised their glasses and clinked them together. They were celebrating Lan Yuchen's successful election. Hahaha, thank you three brothers, otherwise I wouldn't have won the class monitor by only 2 votes. After drinking the wine in the glass, Lan Yuchen raised another glass of wine and said gratefully, "Ha ha ha, you're welcome." The three replied and clinked their glasses again. Tomorrow is the opening ceremony for freshmen. We have to go to the playground, to line up early in the morning, and our class is in the front. After the opening ceremony, it will be the freshman competition. Putting down the wine glass, Lan Yuchen talked about tomorrow's things. The three nodded, indicating that they understood. This is considered a university tradition. For example, the military training of college students before the elves come. After the elves come, it becomes a freshman competition. Other classes have class teachers. Why don't we have one? Although the class teachers in universities don't take care of things. Zhang spoke at the right time and expressed his doubts. Well, I'm a little confused too. Normally, our class should have a class teacher. Etched also said. Me too. Zhang Xingyun also added. We are the first class of supernatural powers, so naturally we are quite special. Lan Yuchen thought for a while and said slowly, not only is the class teacher special, but our courses are also special. I'll send the attachment to our dormitory group. You can take a look. We don't have many classes this semester. Zhang Xingyun and the other two picked up their phones and looked at them. As Lan Yuchen said, there really weren't many classes. Don't guess. You have to think about what our strength is now, and what is the strength required for students in the general combat department to graduate. 2 mid-elite elves can graduate, so what about us now? What about 4 years later? Even if we have been standing still for 4 years, we will never be lower than the mid-elite level. Lan Yuchen said with a little pride, and the reality is just as he said. The students in their class, or the students in the first class of supernatural powers, each of them had a late elite elf before, and some of them had the strength of a qua seeking. But, we don't have to do nothing. We also have to complete some cultural credits. In addition, the school requires our class to collect 8 badges this year. As for the 8 badges, it's one thing to have confidence, but whether you can challenge and win is another. That makes sense. Zhang agreed, and Zhang Xingyun and Etched nodded slightly. Another thing is the annual Huaxia College Exchange Competition, which we are also busy with. According to last year's exchange competition, 70% of the people are members of the previous class of the Superpower Class 1. Do you think there will be less work? Lan Yuchen added. After Lan Yuchen explained, the three of them also looked enlightened. It seems that the students in their class are indeed very free, but in fact they are also very busy. But if you want to be a lazy person, it's easy to get a degree. But do you just want to get a degree? A diploma? Lan Yuchen raised his eyebrows. Ha ha ha, of course not. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and laughed. If it was in the previous life, it was indeed possible, but now it is really the elf era, so it is naturally unnecessary. Like him, even if he didn't come to the Magic City to attend university, he could still live a comfortable life. After all, his strength is there. Zhang and the others also disdained to muddle through academic qualifications, and naturally had their own pursuits. So, as long as we don't want to muddle through, and want to study hard, we can still learn a lot. We are already in college. It depends on our own consciousness. That's right. After eating, the 4 of them started to clean up together. After cleaning up, Zhang Xingyun came to the school breeding house, where Nidoking and the others were placed. In the dormitory, except for some small elves, some large ones are not allowed, such as big elves like Nidoking. If you are discovered, you will be deducted points. Therefore, the school's breeding house is specially built for the students' elves. As long as you are a student of the Magic City University, you can store your elves in the breeding house for free. There are special people to take care of them here, and of course you don't need it. This breeding house was also built by the Magic City University at a huge cost, and it can be regarded as a benefit for students who are admitted to the Magic City University. Everyone is eating. When they arrived at the location where Nidoking and the others were, they found that Nidoking and the others were eating. It's really a big deal. It's an intermediate energy block. Zhang Xingyun sighed, feeling the generosity of Magic City University. Intermediate energy blocks are not cheap. If his Pokémon are like this, then all the students in the class are like this. This is a large number at once. Magic City University is not just their class. The battle department of his class has accepted 3,000 students. The cost can be imagined. Of course, this is also limited. Generally, the school will only provide 6 Pokémon for students in the battle department, while Zhang Xingyun's ability class has 12. The trainer will be responsible for the excess. But this is also a very attractive existence. Although it is somewhat dispensable for him, it is different for other students, especially those from ordinary families. This is also the treatment of famous schools, and it is also the reason why every student pursues famous schools. In addition to popularity, famous schools also mean sufficient funding and good treatment for students. Hey Xingyun, you are here too. Nangan Yao's voice came from behind. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. They are not allowed to enter the dormitory, so I can only come here. As soon as he heard the voice, Zhang Xingyun knew it was Nangan Yao, and he said without turning his head, "How is it? Are you getting along well with your new roommates?" Nangan Yao squatted beside him and asked softly, "Well, it's okay. They are all easy to get along with. How about you?" Zhang Xingyun asked back. "I'm okay too. Modi University is worthy of being one of the top 10 famous universities in China. Our supernatural class has intermediate energy blocks. Don't the school team have advanced energy blocks?" Zhang Xingyun said thoughtfully. "You guessed it right. The school team does have advanced energy blocks. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many students who want to join and become one of them. After all, they are not like you who can make advanced energy blocks by yourself." Nangan Yao said with a smile, and then continued. "How do you feel on your first day in Modu? Is it a different feeling?" "Yeah, they are also excellent." Zhang Xingyun nodded. "Of course. Only those students who stand out can enter Magic City University, and the people in our class are selected from the same group of students. How can such people not be excellent?" End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.